Mr. Squaga,
Present.
Councilwoman Ivy. Here. Mr. Crona,
Here.
Mr. East,
Here.
Commissioner Hill. Here. Mr. J,
Present.
Mr. Long,
Here.
and Chair Sheedy.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna start with public comment.
You have a public comment. I think we're gonna leave.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's great. I would like to ask for approval of the agenda.
I'm sure we approve the agenda.
All right, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Approval of the minutes.
Move to accept the minutes
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, review, discussion, and possible action regarding legislative priorities for the current legislative session. We've got Jesse. Look at you, you cut your hair.
No.
Isn't that what
No,
I'm-
I'm going with Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction.
I was gonna say you have to look presentable at the legislature. Okay, gotcha. All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Take it away. The floor is yours.
We'll appreciate the opportunity to give you guys the update. Right now it is 11 days and change remaining in the legislative session, so we are in the final push. Just to give you sort of where we stay, the next big deadline is tomorrow is the second House passage deadline. Bills we are watching, the one particular one that we've been working on for you guys, the board governance, AB 114, that sits on the Senate floor right now. I guess just to give a little insider baseball, right now the bill has been on the floor for a couple of days. And what is happening is right now, all of the GOP bills are being rolled to the next legislative day. So we're just kind of into that part of the process. But at this stage, I don't expect any major issues with the board governance bill as it sits. It came out of the committee unanimously. And so I don't expect and have not heard any concerns with it on the floor. We'll probably see it pass likely tomorrow. That is actually the same story as AB 333, which is the Reno Livestock Event Center. Essentially, getting the new landlord through the Department of Agriculture. That bill is also being rolled and will likely pass tomorrow. The bill that came up last meeting, AB 81, which was the time bill, has been that did not make it through the last deadline, so that is not going to be processed. So that bill is gone. And then I know you guys are keeping an eye on the Lake Tahoe bills, SB 420 with business improvement districts. That bill has not been moved yet. That still sits in its first house, but it is exempt. So in the next 11 days, it could still end up passing. And then SB 426 has moved over to the other side, but is still sort of being processed through. That one's the one on the transportation corridor in Lake Tahoe Basin. I know folks have been interested in that. So happy to answer any questions, but kind of sit at the end, and I'm looking forward to coming home someday from the wars.
I bet. All right, any questions?
Madam Chair,
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to ask, and I brought this up after the last meeting, Jesse. We had someone mentioned Senate Bill 316 in reference to RSCVA's health plan that we provide our employees. And I know that bill carved out every government for the most part and union, it seems like, but I'm not sure if it carved us out. Do you know if they did? And I asked Mike, I don't know if you guys have any information on what that might do to our bottom line if it passes.
I guess what I would attempt to say is I understand that did carve out governments. Now, I guess I don't know the plan that you guys are on. If you were on PEB, then it would be out. So, but that's a question for your HR.
Lori to respond on her behalf because she actually called our broker and healthcare provider who got some information.
Okay.
Well, I haven't actually spoken with them yet, but I did do a little research and it's really unclear from what I can tell. The way that I read it, it seems to be very, it's more focused on the pharmacy benefit managers, transparency. And I see Jesse nodding his head, but there are a lot of positives to it, whether it impacts our bottom line in rates and prices, I still need to find out.
I apologize. That's correct. I was thinking of the IVF bill that is being run, that is still moving forward, that would have impacts on insurance, but the PBM bill, yeah, it's a little unclear to me as well, but I would think.
What's the IVF bill number, Jesse?
I would have to pull that up. It's right around that SB, like 318, I think is what it is. I just can't remember. I'll pull my-
It's like the same. So Madam Chair and members, I would just ask, maybe we could track it a little bit more. If we're exempt from either of them, I think that's a good thing, and we're not part of the concerns for our members' health insurance. I just worry if both of those bills do pass. What we learned over at the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, our small group health plan through Prominence, we're anticipating a significant raise in premiums for all of our members. If either one passes, if both passes, then we're in real tough situation in terms of membership premium costs. So I don't know what we could do about it as a board. Jesse, I don't know what you recommend, but if there is, I'm sure, do we need to make a motion in any way to authorize Mike, should there be a net
I think we
financial
do,
effect?
we would have, if we're gonna take action,
Yeah.
we would need to make a motion.
I don't know what everyone else thinks,
Okay.
but
Would you like to make that motion?
I'm interested in where if board members think it's an important thing, like I seem to think. I mean, over. at the
But you
Reno
also
Chamber,
are down there a lot.
I'm down there a lot, so I know all
So
these
you
things,
know
but yeah,
Yeah,
is it something that, like, should it affect our health insurance that we provide our employees? I personally think we should oppose both pieces of legislation if we are included in them. I think it'll harm our employees and our.
Is the chamber in opposition there?
They are,
Or can testify?
the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce is opposing both bills because we are not excluded in our small group health plan policies.
There,
And
as
we
I understand it, there's a new update on the IVF bill, and again, I'll get the number. I don't have it, but there was a new update out of the Senate Finance, and they're going to be exempting association health plans. So if you've got those, so it's going to be 50 or more employees is the IVF. Again, I think the PBM bill is probably not as applicable, but I'm happy to run it down.
are they, is it about getting rid of the PBM?
That's the other bill. It's,
I absolutely think that is important.
yeah, so, but the concern is there's language that doesn't allow our health plan to negotiate the health benefits, the prescription health benefits. And that's where the Reno Sparks Chamber is concerned. We don't have a PBM as with Prominence and what we offer our members, but you see that we can't negotiate those pharmaceutical drug prices.
Yeah,
And the bill would prohibit us from doing that, which then possibly increase our.
one of the reasons why medications are so incredibly high is because you put in that middle manager and then they're negotiating and taking all the money.
I don't,
Does our plan have that? Do we use a PBM?
You know, it's through Anthem and I'm not sure, I think there's a component of dealing with the PBMs.
Yeah,
But we have our broker that does a lot of those negotiations, so I'm still learning how that goes, but
that's, yeah,
I think it's just more to come. Maybe we need to do a little bit more digging
okay.
about what the plan actually says.
Okay, well then I would recommend, what about if you and Jesse follow this? And then if it's something that the board needs to take action on, and I would think we trust you, our trusted leader, to do what's right for our employees and make sure, you know, that we're staying on top of that. Go ahead.
And to your point, Madam Chair, I think next session, 2 years from now, if we remember to do this, I'm happy if you want the executive and legislative committee to look at our policies, our legislative policies, both locally and federally. And so then Mike could act on behalf of the board following that policy doc. So maybe that's
Right.
something we work on in the future.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Great.
And it always moves so fast and it changes and it's very hard to follow and it can be very, that's why we have Jesse. Correct?
I do
But
try
we-
to follow it, and we haven't had a lot of insurance mandates lately because of the ACA, but as federal law is starting to change, we are starting to see more mandates being pushed onto insurers. So you're starting to see a little bit more action in this space where we've been a little quiet for a few years.
Mhm. Yeah. Not anymore. Anyway, well, thanks, Jesse. We appreciate you. Any further questions for Jesse? No? Okay,
Just tracks it.
Mr. Albuser, are you okay with that? Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, and also it's hard to maybe understand if we're not sitting in HR. I just know this from the city and just like lost my mind when I was like, what? We're using it premium, stop. So, and I'm sure you too. So, okay, great. Sound good, Mike? Good with that?
Great,
Okay,
absolutely, thank you.
all right. So we don't need to take any action.
I think I'm
You're
fine.
good with that?
Direction, yes.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna head into item D2. And this is review, discussion, possible approval of appointment of member to the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority Board of Trustees to represent consumers of services provided at the airport. So with that being said, Mira, do we have any public comment?
We do have public comment.
Okay.
Two. Mr. Pascal Complete is the first. If you'd like to go to the podium.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Yes, I'm French.
I know, it's all
international, but
that kind
I
of
would like to
words.
thank you for this opportunity. My name is Pascal Dupuy. I'm the general manager of the Hyatt Regency Lake Tahoe. I have more than 30 years experience in luxury resorts, city hotels. And I worked in many places around the world. Just to name a few, I'm from south of France, so I started my career there. And then I moved to London, I went to Paris, I went to Mauritius, I went to India, 2 parts of India. I went to Dubai, I went to Mexico, and I'm here. Why am I here? Because my specialty in the luxury world is to bring a resort and hotel to the next level. So all my career, I've done this in many other places. I opened 2 magnificent palaces, one in Dubai and one in India. I remodeled many other hotels. So my specialty, like I said, is bringing the luxury to the next level. What attracted me here is a beautiful owner has a very ambitious, renovation plan, a great plan for our resorts, which we have started 2 months ago, and that's what excited me. So John Griffin one day mentioned my name to be part of the board of the RTAA, and I was like, this is what I do. I bring to the next level, and I understand there's a very massive project to do that for the Reno Airport. And I said, I'm very excited about this. And, if I can bring my years of experience, expertise in the luxury world, my focus is service. And I believe that the airport is the first impression of a region. And the first impression is always a good impression. So there is a lot of component in what I do. And I think service is also a very important element. You cannot spend money and upgrade whether an hotel, a resort, or an airport without also looking at making sure the visitors and they are tourists. And that's what I do all my career, looking after guests and people. Developing a region in a tourist. I'm with Travel North Tahoe, Nevada, and I learned a lot in the last 2 years. I've been here for 2 years. I know some questions were coming about commitment. When I start something, I finish. So I'm going to be here to finish the whole project, and it's going to take 5 years. So my commitment is full. When I decide to do something, I put my commitment, and
being on the board, I would be fully committed to that. So I want to appreciate the RSCVA consideration for my request to represent the interest of this board in the regional tourism industry on the RTA board. I am passionate and ensuring the future of the airport is effectively run.
I assume that's not a fire drill. Pascal, good job. Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all too. Thank you.
Next, Mr. John Sandy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to be in front of you today. I'm really excited about stuff too, representing the airport authority. Because it's the intersection of two of my passions, this community and aviation. I was born and raised here. My grandparents moved here in 1956. My grandfather served as a doctor here in town for a number of years. And my parents, many of you know John and Gail Sandy, very philanthropic and civil-minded, really instilled that in my brother and me when we were younger. I graduated from Reno High School and then moved to the Bay Area to attend undergrad at Stanford, where I played football, walked onto the team for 5 years, and then went to Santa Clara Law School. It was while I was away at school that I think I really discovered my passion for Reno and how much I loved it. I talked about it all the time. I bring my teammates here. We'd ride motorcycles, we'd go explore the casinos, we'd go raft down the Truckee River, and I talked to them about Reno all the time. So much so that they kind of named me, kind of joking, but they said I was a walking chamber of commerce. But it was effective because my best friend actually moved to Reno. Dominic Bernetti, probably many of you know Dominic. He was a teammate of mine at Stanford, and after school he moved his wife to Reno, and now they're about 10 doors down from us. So it all paid off. But professionally, once I graduated law school, I joined the Jones Vargas law firm, where I met some amazing attorneys and represented some amazing clients, in particular the RSCVA and the Airport Authority. I worked with Brett Scolari, who preceded Mr. Kennedy, and worked with Ann Morgan, who served over a decade as the general counsel for the Airport Authority, and enjoyed it. But I definitely understand the issues that both organizations go through and what's important to them. Personally, my wife and I just started our third business. We opened a restaurant south of town, the Great Greek, if you haven't tried it.
Which is amazing. I love it.
We have two wonderful kids, and they're going through the Washoe County School District right now. My wife serves as a physician assistant with the Renown Group and does amazing work for them. But as I mentioned, aviation is another passion of mine. In 2022, I earned my private pilot's license, and in 2023, I bought a plane, which we keep hangared on the west side of the airport. So I'm definitely a user of the facilities. I understand the operations and what they're going through, but also through work, I travel commercially a lot, and I understand the importance in this community of having air service and having more convenient air service, not just to the West Coast, but to across the country, to really bring in not only tourists, but the economic impact that serves our businesses and how vibrant we want to be as a community. That air service, increasing that, is going to be vitally important to us, and I want to play a part in that, and I want to definitely focus my priorities on developing that if I was fortunate enough to get a position with the Airport Authority. So thank you guys all for considering me. I'm very excited, and you guys do have tough choices. There are great candidates in front of you, so we will serve this community well. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Look at you, right on time. So loud. It's so loud.
Very loud.
What is that?
Next, we have Mr. Eddie Officer.
Thank you,
Does
Madam.
that feel weird?
Sure.
I just have to ask.
Comfortable here.
Interview.
Thank you,
There's
Madam
nothing I will
Chair.
ask. You're like,
Cutting
is
into
this
my
too
time,
weird?
Madam Chair.
I'm like,
And yeah, was for the record, and let me just reiterate, I've known Mr. Sandy for a long time. I think the world of him. I think you guys have three excellent choices. I've actually got to know Pascal through some of my work at the lake, and I as a board member, which we'll talk about later, and comfortable that we have, in my opinion, including myself, three good people that we're putting forward and really focusing on the most important part, which is how do we grow air service into this region? We need more people here. We need more heads in beds. When the opportunity that the seat opened up, I went to Sparks Chamber of Commerce, talked to my constituency that appointed me here, and they thought it was a great bridge. It's a great bridge to have the voice and the representation of the chamber on the RTAA. And alongside of that, I thought it would be a great continuity and collaboration as a board member here on the RSCVA to also serve on RTAA and try to do what member Jay has done for his service, and that's bridge those two priorities and goals and missions together. Again, air service, air service, air service, more people here means more heads in our gaming facilities, which helps the work that we as RSCVA does. A little bit behind about my background, some of you might know I was a 10-year state representative and state senator in the state of Arizona. I had the privilege of serving on the transportation, ranking member of the transportation committee, where I had a lot of work that I did in air service, in light rail. We brought a lot of rail construction to the state of Arizona, as well as then being appointed to the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport Advisory Committee. And I had the privilege of working and bringing a new tower to that airport. If you've been there, I had the privilege of creating a commuter connector on the light rail so that you can get off the airport in Phoenix and go straight onto light rail and end up in Mesa in 25 minutes. Really enjoyed my time serving in the transportation space in Arizona. When I moved here over a decade ago, I had a chance to work for Governor Sandoval, leading 2 different divisions in his tenure. And then I started my own company, Tri Strategies, where we do public affairs consulting and political communications in multiple states. I had the privilege of working with folks up at the lake. I know I've shared stories with you about Incline Village General Improvement District. I feel that experience gives me a wealth of knowledge on the operations and dynamics and political engagement of the lake. I would just say my commitment is, how do we bring more people here? Every flight that lands is $145,000 of economic impact. How do we magnify that into a broader catchment zone for all of our areas? And that's what we're here for as members and trustees of this authority, as well as the airport authority. So thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you so much. Mira.
No other public comment.
Okay, thank you so much. Mira, we have 3 seats open, right? I mean, this is so tough. I am so impressed. Thank you so much. I mean, we have 3 great candidates. I know we laid out a process. It's something that they do over at the county. I believe we're gonna follow that, but I think, Greg, did you want to open with some comments? I know Vice Chair
Madam Chair.
would like to, but I wanted to give you the floor first.
Yeah, Madam Chair, can I explain point of order?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Before we take any action, I know you've got to read a disclosure.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, before the board proceeds in any action on this agenda item, I have a disclosure I'm advised to make. As you're aware, I'm a candidate for the appointment to the Reno Tahoe Airport Authority Board of Trustees. The Reno Tahoe Airport Authority Act provides that members of the RTAA Board of Trustees are paid a monthly stipend for their service. Side note, I didn't know that. I don't think you guys knew that either. Anyhow, not only does this create a pecuniary interest in my appointment, but I likewise have a non-pecuniary personal interest in being appointed as a member of this board and a public officer. I have a general ethical obligation pursuant to NRS 281A-0201 to avoid conflicts between my private interests and those of the public I serve. I likewise have an obligation pursuant to NRS 281A-402 to avoid using my public position to secure unwarranted privileges, preferences, or advantages for myself, and have a duty to avoid use of my position as a member of this board to seek other employment per NRS 281A-400 number 10. After consultation with legal counsel and in reliance on the Nevada Ethics Commission opinion number 12-66A, it has been determined that my personal pecuniary interest in my appointment to the RTAA Board of Trustees creates an instance whereby the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my situation be materially affected in a matter which determines the appointment. Therefore, pursuant to the provisions of NRS Chapter 281A, I will be abstaining from voting on this agenda item or any action on this item. I'll provide the board clerk with a copy of the statement and ask that it be included in the meeting record. I'm going to sit over there.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, Greg, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the floor here. I just think we have to
we have to realize that this is the RSCVA seat. This is the seat that this is not the city, this is not the county, this is the RSCVA. We have a seat for a tourism related person to be appointed on this board to watch out for the tourism related issues that can come up. Tourism is our number one industry here in the state. Gaming would not be alive without tourism. Tourism drives the gaming. We have a great candidate here from the Hyatt, Washoe County, that contributes millions of dollars of tax into this region. He is well qualified. The airport lobbyist is the one that reached out to Pascal. The airport wants Pascal on this board. They would not have done that if they didn't think Pascal was a good candidate. When Hassan is out selling the airport, he is leading with Tahoe. He always leads with Tahoe. Tahoe is what is bringing new airlines, new routes into the airport. Tahoe is a very important voice on that board. Tourism is a very important voice on the board. Hospitality. Without Pascal, we would not have any representation once Carol turns out. We have to just realize this is an RSCVA appointment. This isn't a city appointment. We have a task and a responsibility to put somebody that is going to protect the interest of hospitality and tourism in our region. The Hyatt has a huge pool of very experienced GMs are in their database, and they chose Pascal to come to one of their premier properties to renovate it. He would not have been chosen if he is not qualified. He is only 35 minutes away from Reno. He is not out of town. He is very committed to this position. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Good comments. Who else? Oh, sorry. I was just gonna ignore you.
I know it, you always do.
Go ahead.
You know, I just want to reiterate once again. Okay, the time commitment that is involved in this position. Okay, it is one of the most active boards in the community right now, not putting any other board down, but this one is very active. But it's going to become even more active as we go forward with the more RNO project. For example, today, we had the budget meeting this morning. We had a lot on agenda. We didn't get out there till after 12 o'clock. We had, the preview of our new headquarters. Then back to the office for about 45 minutes to eat some peanut M&Ms and drink a Coca-Cola, and I'm good. I'm charged up. This meeting. After this meeting, we've got another event for the airport at the Atlantis tonight for the public forum for the concourse and everything going on with more RNO. My whole day was shot today with this stuff going on. But I asked Darren to put a few things together for me of how many things we do. So whoever the person is going to be, you're going to be on 2 to 3 committees, whether it be finance, planning, construction, noise, sustainability, COC, users group, land development. Okay, so there are monthly meetings there. Then you're going to have your regular board meeting every month. So there's 2 meetings right there. Now, with all the stuff going on with more RNO, there are going to be other meetings. We have a special meeting next month to do the final design for the headquarters. Next month, there's probably going to be at least 5 or 6 meetings. Now, also, these meetings, especially the board meetings, but also the public meetings, the individual needs to be there in person. Okay, Zoom just doesn't work. Zoom has its functions, but in my opinion, with the airport, it doesn't. You need to be there in person. Okay, so there's a big one. There's also the fact that you're going to not only need to attend the airport meetings, but you're going to need to attend the RSCVA meetings as the representative to, serving RSCVA for the airport to report back to us. Okay, so you're probably looking at least 10 meetings per month, if not more. Then you've got the Christmas party. Then you've got the summer party.
And we expect you to bring a gift.
Absolutely.
Over $500.
Over $500, but properly disclosed it. I bring that up because as a trustee, you need to be interacting with the employees. The employees need to see an active board out there. They'd like to see us at the Christmas parties to say, thank you, you're doing a bang up job. You know, the RSCVA Christmas party we had in January, I got to talk to so many, you know, just employees here just saying thank you for all that you do. So you just, you know, I don't want somebody to come back a year or two from now and say, well, I didn't know about this. And in 3 years, you're going to be the chair. It's not like Reno and Washoe County and Sparks where you may or may not be the chair depending on how it lives. You will be the chair because there's only one spot here. 3 years. Now, when you're as chair, not only do you have all those meetings, but there's going to be times where you have to go back to Chicago to possibly meet with United. Mike knows all about this. Back to Atlanta. You guys have been there already this year. There's going to be other places you're going to have to go representing the airport with these airlines as the chairman. So I just really want to make sure that you guys understand the time commitment with this position. I don't want anybody to come back here to, God, I didn't realize so much. I just don't have time. It's so busy. You know, I'm running ragged. You know, it's a new term I have, hear my tone.
Hear my tone.
Exactly. Just know what you're getting yourself into. And if there's any questions you have, I would be more than happy to answer them for you. So that's my 2 cents.
No, you are the expert.
Yeah.
You showed up to every meeting. Okay, anyone else want to make any comments? I would like to make a comment. First of all, I think we have 3 incredible candidates, and so whatever decision is made today, I think it's a win. We can't go wrong.
Absolutely.
Pascal, are you flying to move to Reno so I could hire you for some projects in town? Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I'll be right anyway.
Moonlight for you.
Yeah. Impressive. So one of the things that I really believe, the airport means a lot to me because it really is the front door to our city. We have got to make an impression. And I will say this, and this is not to slight any board members that are currently on the board or you, Richard. But I look at board members with different expertise sometimes. There are certain people on there that are, their background is in construction. Yeah, construction or government affairs. You got Kitty Jung over there with government affairs. She has like a lot of history, those kinds of things. One of the things I think is super critical where we should have a super symbiotic relationship is between the RSCVA and Greg, you really pointed on it, that it's an RSCVA appointment. And with the airport now more than ever, but one area where I think we need to really focus on, so whoever the appointment goes to, I would ask this and hopefully the board would endorse it, but is the relationship with air service. We had Rick Murdoch at one time and he was like the air service guru. And I really think if we want to put heads in beds, we really have to have, I would like to see an advisory committee or some sort of air service committee that's really brought together. I know we have GRASS, but I feel like we're still a little bit fragmented. But what I've learned about the airlines is they really love to see, a forward face. They like to go to your property. They kind of like to see, sort of what's happening. And I think we really have to emphasize the level of being ambassadors to those airlines so we can really attract air service. We should be operating like in Austin, some of those airports that are, people are just ranting and raving about that I hear a lot of the time. And I think, gaming is still so critical to what we do. And I believe it's over 500,000 conferences that come. It's a like $500,000 economic impact just in conferences, Mike, with room nights.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was reading some.
Right. And so I think we're like 62nd in the United States. When they look at, top airports, that's not bad. It's still really impressive. So bottom line is I really believe that first impressions count. I think Pascal said that. They really do. It is the gateway into our region. And so I want us to really think about elevating the experience for the visitor, for anyone that's coming to game. Because I think we have an opportunity, quite honestly, that we've missed for a long time. Okay, 3.6 billion annual economic impact, 3.6 billion annual economic impact. That's pretty impressive, right? Where was it? Okay,
63 jobs.
and 6,300 jobs indirectly supports more than 17,500 positions, representing around 6% of the region's total employment. Gateway to the region, passenger traffic, RNO serves nearly 4.85
We're gonna
million
break 5 million this year.
passengers annually, making it the 62nd, I see I was right, busiest commercial airport in the United States. Tourism and conventions, the airport plays a crucial role in supporting the tourism industry with meetings and conventions attracting over 500,000
Yeah.
hotel room nights annually. I was right. My little trivia, I'm gonna play some trivia tonight.
Very good.
Tourism provided 43,000 jobs in 2023.
This is the big one right here, each plane.
So each plane does bring in $129,000 every time it sits, or it lands in Arno, but not necessarily. I think it's 145 due to the larger, X now.
True,
37
This
X.
was the 737-800.
Yeah, well, my grandfather flew for United for 37 years, so I have a little bit of an airline buff. But anyway, my point is that we have massive opportunity. We've got to get these flights coming in from some of these areas. And I'll tell you, Reno is also really critical about this. Atlanta is really like a, what they call it, like a commuter hub sort of type of airport. Reno is not. When they stop here at RNO, they're here. They're here for an experience, a visitor's experience. So they've come here for a legitimate reason. And so we have to, I think, expand on that and how we can really present ourselves to be the best we possibly can. So that's all I'm saying. It's just whoever goes over there, I would really like to see reimagine Reno Tahoe Airport, what it looks like, what the visitors experience. And I've shared my concerns with Darren, so he knows, but then I also want to reimagine air service. What can we do for more air service? What's the one everyone complains about? I know we all complain about DC.
Yeah.
We all want DC, but we need, what's one I think we need a lot is the New York trip, the New York flight. That one, we need that back. So that's all I'd ask. Whoever goes over.
Get New York.
Get New York.
That's
No,
all I ask.
DC. No, just kidding. But we need Florida. We need all of these, we need all of these regions, right? Everything we possibly can. So anyway, okay, with that being said, I think now all three of you have clear direction. Sound good? Okay, so how would you like us to do this? We're gonna follow what you recommended, Commissioner. And so how do you guys usually do that?
We do paper ballots.
Oh, you do?
and-
Oh, paper.
Yeah.
You guys are like old school.
We do, and we, depending on the amount of candidates, we'll sometimes do top 3, top 2.
Yeah.
In this case, Ben, it
Okay.
seems like advise the board your top candidate, and then the
Okay.
clerk reads out the candidates. And
Okay.
typically you'll have a pretty good sense if there's a motion that will
Okay.
carry the day.
All right, and if there is a tie, then we'll come back. Sound good? Okay, are we literally gonna do a paper?
Okay.
Oh, we're gonna write.
Okay, pass it around.
So we got a paper over here.
On my own little game.
What we could do is just put all the papers in there and just.
Random draw.
So please be sure to put your name on the ballot.
Oh,
Because we'll read it into the record when we.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, there's 7 benches.
$8 feet.
It's just written and we got it add here. That's we could have saved Mara. It's just like. I know. She's like, so.
It's on, I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
So where you come from?
Hey.
Certain party did that. Renee. I tried to find that today. That's a search party that's about this. I'm back.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm upset.
Like. Yeah. That was no bonus. The next one was- I wish I hadn't given that out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. Hey, I got an airport announcement in real time. Okay, because we all sent a lot of good to, I want everyone to be aware, Richard has an announcement to make. This just happened, they just heard our comments from the board.
JFK is
In New
back
York.
in June. And this is the power of the room.
What we accomplished today, we brought them back.
Meeting adjourned.
Yes. From David Lacey.
Can you channel PC right now?
Charlie. Okay.
So Richard, is that?
Correct. I don't
Name
know.
and everything
Seasonal.
Yeah, so we want to put on the record each board member and how they
in their
vote.
vote.
Correct.
Understood. Mr. Glenn Crono has voted for Eddie Applesert. Hillary Sheeby has voted for Eddie Applesert. Richard J has voted for Eddie Applesert. John East has voted for Eddie Applesert. Alexis Hill has voted for Pascal Dupuis. Stephen Esquaga has voted for Pascal Dupuis. Greg Long has voted for Pascal Dupuis, and Charlene Bybee has voted for Pascal Dupuis. So it is a tie.
How come I feel like you have sort of a, like, you said that very well about Pascal. Like, it was like you had some sort of French in you, do you?
No, I have in-laws that are French, but no, I do not.
Didn't you hear her pronunciation?
Don't judge me.
I thought you absolutely have to have some French in you somewhere.
No, not that I know.
Okay.
I live in Mexico, they all call me Pascual, but it's Pascal.
Oh, Pascal.
Yeah. That's okay,
Pascal.
Mexico is fun.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So we have the tie, 4-4. Disappointment has to be made by June 15th, so we need to figure out a way to get to 5, so.
Okay. We're gonna do a card game.
Can we open conversation and just,
Ask questions of the candidate.
either ask questions or just maybe some of us who didn't make comments on why we're supporting who we're supporting?
Go
Can
ahead.
we do that? Okay, lobby.
You're lobbying.
Lobbying, yeah.
Okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if I'd be elected, I'd be a lobby, so I
You
think so.
can do it. You can do it.
Anyway, I think first of all, one change, Madam Chair, that I really appreciate when we looked at this was the change in our representative coming to our meetings. That's never happened.
Yeah.
Ever. And I love that. I think it's super important. We've had Carol there for 8 years. We had Andy from SQA, all of our representatives. I don't believe someone who's been around a long time, have they ever come to our meetings or been required to? Yeah.
Required probably, but attendance, no.
Yeah, so no, I think that's a huge benefit to have. We have the airport representative, and when it's not Richard, it'll be someone else, but our voice on that board to be back here to us specifically is another, this is two liaisons sitting up, which I think is critical.
Yeah.
With that being said, I really feel and I appreciate what Richard laid out on the time commitment is pretty extraordinary of not just one meeting for them and one meeting for us. It's a lot of meetings and a lot of time. So my concern with that on our appointment, because now we're down to two. And I've got concern because I believe Mr. Ablasar is not in state anymore, that he's living between here in Utah, and I've got, it concerns me of being here for that much of a time commitment. Just gives me pause that I want to make sure who we have is going to be here. And that's a big ask if you're not in town. I know you come from out of town. You're also running your property here, but I have concern on the time commitment there. I think Pascal brings decades of the tourism. It's not just the lake connection. If it was just the lake, I love the lake and I don't know that I would have voted for someone just because they represented the lake. I think his tourism and I think the international connections, because, you know, eventually, you know, with air services, we're looking at time into international markets. We're not gonna get a nonstop from London to Reno, but the connection.
Yes, we
to
are.
International.
We are getting that.
I'll put in for that. You're saying time. Okay. So really that international experience and bring something, and I think he really brings to this board. We have Eddie on our board, so we've got the benefits of everything he brings to the board already. I think the opportunity to have another voice with business experience, tourism experience to the airport kind of gives us, you know, double for our money, honestly.
Okay,
That's all I can say.
thank you so much. All right.
I'll jump in if
Go
that's
ahead,
okay.
go ahead, Stan.
With stuff here, if this is one spot individually, right, any one of these gentlemen would fill in perfectly. So I mean, have a world of respect for Mr. Sandy, work with Mr. Adelzar on this board. I find what is unique on a couple fronts with Pascal is we have when I look at that airport authority board, you've got a real nice mix of expertise. I do see a miss on tourism, hospitality and gaming representation. And when you brought up Mr. Murdoch, he was a champion.
Yeah.
And really, you know, between the El Dorado days and even coming in wearing a Caesar's hat, when you're sitting with a United or a Delta, and you have a representative from a company like that, I look at it very similar to the Hyatt Corporation and a senior executive with that company. The investment that's going on up at the lake, it is, if you think about it, it's probably our highest end luxury property in our room tax collection. And that's kind of where I'll end too is he's a major, it is a major room tax generator for this organization. It funds salaries, it funds marketing campaigns that we're gonna talk about on a very high level. So I look at that and I feel like there's a real nexus of tourism that represents us well on the airport authority. I think the other two gentlemen will do a wonderful job as well, but there are future, the only thing I would throw out is there are future openings, I believe, whether it's to the city of Reno, city of Sparks County, that hopefully we could, whoever doesn't come out of the three, I hope we can capture them on. But that's really why I lean towards Pascal and his decades of tourism, hospitality and gaming. So thank you.
Okay, great. You?
Again,
Okay, go ahead.
two things, I just want to make comment that the airport is completely neutral on the selection process. Okay, we hands off, whoever's the person is the person. Also, I'm just wondering if we can get Eddie to come up here and make a comment as to, you know, your residency.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. A strange opportunity for me to talk about personal matters in my life. I had an opportunity to extend my business into the state of Utah. That will be our fifth state that Tri-Strategies is growing into as the CEO of this company. I spend a lot of time on airplanes flying to Albuquerque, flying to Phoenix, applying to Boise, and now to Salt Lake City. Subsequently, as a result of me starting that fifth state, my family has 126 members that live in Utah, and my wife and children are relocating there, and I will be co-located. I have a residence here, I have a residence there. I have not finalized that yet. We are full-time still here, and but I will be spending majority of my time because my business is based here, my partners are based here. My father and family are here as well. So, you know, if it's a requirement that I have to be here 100% of the time, perhaps that's, you know, I don't know, but this is going to be my residence, my co-location, and I think I've shown you all my commitment to serving in various capacities. I don't think that should be an issue at all. I think Pascal wanted to say something.
Pascal.
No,
Yeah, go right ahead.
Appreciate. First of all, I'm so.
Like a game show. It feels like we're in a game show.
I'm so
No,
glad
no.
I made the first round, so thank you. But no, I mean, honestly, and I really appreciate your honesty about the commitment. I'm fully committed. I have a few things that it's already coming up, but my request is planning in advance, you know. For me, it's gonna be very difficult. Yes, I have a big resort to run and to renovate, but for me, it's gonna be very difficult to a day to the next or a week to the next. So if I have all the dates and everything that I need to be there, I will make sure that I will plan the rest of my business around these dates.
Yeah.
So, you know,
All
and
the,
again,
yes, all the dates are put out well in advance, so to both candidates,
yes,
there'll be no question, you know. Second Thursday of every month, meeting, second Tuesday of every month are all the committee meetings, so. Yeah, you'll be able to, whoever the candidate, you know, the person is, will be able to set their calendar accordingly.
then it's great. I have an amazing team with me. I have a great number two. They can run the hotel. But yeah, really, it's my request. And you were talking about June, because I have a few things for 3 weeks planned in Europe. So that's all. Again, planning in advance is crucial for me. So
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll see you in Europe, I'm going there as well.
I'm gonna try to get a flight to Portugal too.
Can I ask the candidates? I would like to know a little bit about if you've thought about a vision for when you walk through that airport. I have some real, and I've been very vocal about this, and everyone knows this is my personality, calling out the elephant in the room. See everyone smiling in the back because they know I'm getting ready to say, I have some real heartburn with what the experience is when visitors are, you know, walking through the concourses. I'm excited. We're gonna see some rollout tonight, correct?
Oh, yes.
On what that's going to look like in 3 years. But meanwhile, we still have to offer because of the, you know, the construction and things that happen whenever. Especially, I think you have to have a lot of public relations. I also feel very strongly that the airport needs to get back to some of its roots with public relations and being that community airport. I used to be there all the time doing you know, constant press events like with Johnny Mosley and then all the veterans, and it really you know, it really needs to also have that community feel because it's the size of the airport. But what I would also say is it's that public relations aspect is really important. So when you walk through it, you know, visually, you know, someone had made a comment that, you know, we see, you know, lots of ambulance chasers and massage chairs, and I get very territorial about my airport and about my city and my region when anyone disses it. And I thought to myself, this guy is such a jerk, whatever, right? But I was like, Hillary, maybe like step outside and look at it a little bit differently. What do you see, right? And he was right. Like that's kind of what the presentation is when you walk through our airport. When you go through other airports, you tend to see live music and breweries and arts and culture, and talking a little bit about like, what are we seeing in the region? Like, we should be telling people we are one of the top tier destinations for skiing. We play hard in the day, we play hard at night. You know, you can't beat like honestly gambling at night. Like we can offer things in this destination no one else can. From the river, how incredible our backyard playground is, from Lake Tahoe to you know, the Truckee River to so forth. So have you thought about a little bit like about a vision of what you think that visitors, you know, some of the things, think about, I want you guys to put on your hat when you go to Reno, Tahoe. What do you see when you go through that airport? Is there anything that you kind of like have a vision for? Pascal, you wanna? And you've been through a lot of international airports, which will really,
Yeah, some
Right.
and not so good, but I mean, for me to tell you now, the vision, I think we need to advance.
yeah,
But as a, you know, a fly and frequent flyer, I think the airport is, and I didn't know, I learned a lot of the last 2 months about the airport, that it's obviously outdated. I didn't know there was a big plan to renovate, and I think the first thing is, number one, and I'm a people person, and I think everybody you encounter at the airport doing an amazing job, whether it's at the shop or at the cafe. I fly United and they are so nice every time. And but yeah, it's outdated. It lacks a bit of warmth. It lacks a bit of residential feel. The flow is something that needs to be looked at. You know, it's very confusing. You go there and then you pick up your luggage and you have to go on the other side. Here you cannot exit here. And the most frustrating part is the international arrival. I do Mexico or Guadalajara quite a few, and the fact that you have to wait for everybody to be here and everybody have to have the luggage and everything, it's frustrating. And I feel the people can, you know, say that it's very frustrating that, you know, I've been an hour already, landing in an hour and I have to wait for all the luggage to be here. So there's a few things on the service, on the flow, on the look, of course, but yeah, I want to say again, the people every time I interact there, it's pretty amazing. So if you got that part right,
yeah.
and then you do the beautification of the hardware,
Mhm.
then you have a successful airport.
Yeah,
And again, I haven't seen the plant, I haven't seen
Yeah.
anything, but
yeah.
it's my take.
The nice thing is you do fly in and out and you get out, you know, really quick, which is always really nice.
Madam Chair, members, I would say you have a distinct comparison between cities that are investing in the front door that visitors and tourists get to see, and the success of those cities and regions at their airport compared to ones that have become outdated, have become stale, have become root in tradition for whatever reason, bad or good. And my regions that I fly into, there's a huge difference. Phoenix Sky Harbor has gone above and beyond to create just an ultimate customer and flyer experience. There's not a place you can't go in Terminal 4, and they're doing this now to Terminal 3, that is pristine, is clean, is chic, is modern. They have rooms for kids to do while they're waiting to play video games. There's, of course, all other adult type of entertainment engagement. Cities are going above and beyond to really make it an experience that you want to fly into that city. I would say that the work that Mr. J and his fellow members have done to date has been great. I love the ticketing counter renovation, the growth that we're doing on the front side. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with our airport. And in my personal opinion, it's tough to stand back and criticize or critically analyze a situation that we are all not intimately part of, but I think it's imperative that we, in order to get people here, in order for us to do our mission of heads and beds, to increase those room nights, we need people to want to fly to Reno, Sparks, Tahoe. We need people to want to come here. And the best way to do that is that experience at the airport, but also air service. We need to bring in more planes, more traffic, more tourists to come and visit this region, and that benefits everyone. So I would absolutely look at beautification of the airport, but also the flyer experience, which I think is completely lacking in our. And we're not supposed to, discount the opportunities for gaming in the airport. That's it, right? We don't really have a experience for flyers in our Tahoe airport right now. We need to elevate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to see something from Megan. Yeah, like I wanna see the Instagram wall. Let's go viral. Right?
Madam Chair, I don't know what our directions could be here, but I was a former chairman of the Airport Authority, board member for 8 years. I know, I was part of the original Air Service Task Force. My father, was, on the original board there, airport, I was on the board that built this wonderful parking garage out there, and it should have been 8 stories instead of 3.
We wish we would have done that now, huh? We would be in good shape.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pressures and you have to be in tune with the community. We had a vocal minority back then with the guy who used to play guitar that you remember, him, Sam. And so there's a lot of things you have to be here and you have to be part of the community.
Yeah.
And it's not 24/7. Incline, we've had board members on the board here, incline in the past, and inclines gets tough to get down here. And Pascal's on the property up there, he's gonna commit to 5 years here, so it's a really challenge for him, but the other gentleman, I told him at one time I was committed to another gentleman running for this spot here tonight, and I've known his family for 30 years.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm gonna give my vote to him if I get a hold of him. Until 2 days ago, I said, well, I've already committed. And so I think I'm gonna do a guy a favor right now. I'm gonna do a guy a favor right now by actually changing my vote.
Okay.
Okay, and if it's okay to do it that way, so we can get off the snide.
Again, yeah, we're gonna vote again.
Okay, I won't tell you who I'm gonna vote for.
I might switch mine just to complicate it.
Is this an
But really quickly, I just wanna get some feedback. Just, from Dawn and Steven and Gwen, because air service has come up so much. What do you feel like there's something that we're missing there, that we're not quite hitting the mark?
And again, I'm wearing one hat and I'm not as, I think Glenn's got more, there's others that have probably more knowledge, and a lot of people at this table sit in on the RAS discussions and that. I think a couple of things. One is, and even in making, we all see potential improvements at the airport. You guys have a $1 billion+ project that is literally on the very front end. And it's gonna be painful in getting through this, right? That's part of the luxury of our airport, is it's so convenient.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of our biggest selling points to groups coming in is, by the time you're in baggage plane, we can be checking into your room truly in about 15 minutes, that's unheard of when you go to a conference or a show somewhere else. As far as the air service efforts, I feel good that I feel like RAS, we're a bit hitting a reset button.
Yeah.
About now. And I think a lot of it is, you can argue all different strategies. Yeah, I mean, right, you threw out New York, we got that. Take it there today.
2 minute.
Talking about DC, but really, I think a lot of and again, the hub discussion is critical. I was sharing with Mr. Sandy earlier on groups coming in. Sometimes it takes 2 days to get a large group in, and that's just unacceptable. But I think the hub discussion, I think this whole build out of the airport is going to accommodate larger planes, which means it may not even be adding more markets, it's adding capacity. I mean, I'm more worried about, it's almost like the old telethon days with the thermometer. We need seats into the market.
Yeah.
And if it's 10% more out of Seattle, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Because we have the demand and that, but no, I feel good with the efforts. I think Darren, I think he's a home run running the airport, but we've got some growing pains, I think, more than anything. And I think, getting through this, I think this next 4 years of that, it's 4 to 5, 3. Okay, I like reviews. That getting through that 3 years of expansion is gonna be critical. And I know Darren said this, I believe, at the ribbon cutting, but there was a day that airport was brand new, and that was a ribbon cutting, right? Probably in the 70s.
Yeah.
We were all celebrating it, and it served us very well, but it's tired. And now, and we all know airport, that's not to be, it's not insulting the airport. They really made it work. But I think this next growth, this next expansion is really gonna allow the area to grow into something special. But I feel good with I think the connection of the RSCVA and the airport and EDON it's probably been the best it's ever been, so I'm encouraged.
And I do wanna point out, I'm really grateful for Edon being at the table. I think they've done a really, really good job. I really do. I think it's fantastic because I haven't seen it to this level. And it's working and you can tell that it's working, so.
Madam Chair, can I add one airline comment from my 42
Yeah.
years in the industry? Really briefly. I know that the airlines, how they decide, I can't tell you how many routes that I worked or I knew of that were full flights every single day, and American Airlines decided to change it. It's equipment, it's crews, it's a really complex system that's really hard. We're at the mercy. And yet what RASC has done, what we do to all of those relationships we build with the airlines are so critical, but at the end of the day, it's a tough one. I mean, it's a tough one that we kind of have to roll with. And the airports that are under construction, I think this new construction is going to be incredible. I've been through more airports and some that are terrible and some in the middle of construction and after construction. And I think it is what people see first. And when that gets improved, it's going to be awesome. And people will be willing to endure that for what the end product is going to be. So I really think what Richard and the board over there have done and what is coming is amazing. And the continued work with RASC to work as best we can.
Yeah.
To get as many seats as we can and the experience and expanding what we offer at the airport, which I think is in your plan of all the new things and local restaurants and bars and activities. So it's fun and it's good.
So if I could throw a plug in real quick, tonight, 5:30 at the Atlantis. It's not just pictures. We have samples of carpet, the exterior, the interior.
Carpet sounds.
Yeah, the carpet looks really cool. But anyway, the colors, the paints, the just everything, 3D models like you're walking in, what this will look like, what this will look like, that's why you bring up some great things. You're right, it's tired. But when you see the plans, if you can come by tonight, anybody, but I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised with what you see. Not only is it that, but the new headquarters as well. And the new ground transportation, when you see that from the street side, holy moly, does that look modern and nice? So just quick plug, 5:30 Atlantis.
Yeah. I don't mean to burst everyone's bubble. If you thought JFK was permanent, I think it's only till August.
Seasonal.
It's the seasonal.
Oh, we gotta book it. If we can keep it booked.
Yeah, but my point is, we have to continue to highlight those flights. Take them. And you know what? I know a lot of people, because they don't think about it, but especially like families. I'm like, you know what? Take that JetBlue flight, go see a show, go see Broadway, like go take your kids this summer. And they're like, is it that easy? I'm like, it's that easy. You go to sleep. This is the
Red eye.
the red eye, go to sleep, you wake up, you're in New York City, you can come right back to Reno in 48 hours, whatever. I'm just saying, like, it's
amazing.
It's super convenient. I think that's a story that like we should be telling people that they literally could experience that kind of experience in New York City. People have no idea. And I have literally probably sent 5 of my friends with kids and they were like the best thing I've ever done. Of course. I love my points, which we were actually going to be talking about next. And then I just want to say, I am not concerned about who lives here, how that works, in any capacity, Dawn, because I know that we get you, part of the time and that doesn't mean that you don't have, major experience and know that capacity of, what's important. So that also doesn't bother me, with Mr. Alpensberg. The other thing is, back to Greg, did you want to?
You can finish your.
Oh, no, I was just saying back to like what Greg said, about it's an RSCVA appointment. And so, because it's a board member and I think now more than ever, like Shirley talked about, having that relationship back and forth. But either one at the end of the day will be fantastic. We've all won. And Alexis has 5 seats open over at the county. I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean,
You'll have 2.
and I think just to Mr. Sandy, I didn't know he even wanted to do the airport, so we do have other options. And so I'm really glad to know that. And
Yeah. So,
Yes.
Greg,
Just
go ahead.
quickly here, it's called the Reno Tahoe Airport. to have somebody from Tahoe representing the airport. A very qualified person from Tahoe. If we didn't have a qualified individual, it'd be one thing, but over 50% of the people that fly into the Reno Tahoe airport touch Tahoe. Tahoe is very important to that airport. It's not just Reno. Reno has its own seats. The RCVA should be appointing somebody like they have for 20 years from Lake Tahoe. We have a qualified representative.
I'm glad you brought that up, Greg, because let me just tell you something, to your point. I do think maybe Jesse later on, whatever, when we get into another legislative session, because I don't think it specifies that seat. But I think it could be looked at for sure, so that you have better balance on there, so it does directly qualify someone to do that. I absolutely think, because I wasn't, I wasn't aware, but I think it could be done much better at the legislature of sort of re-looking at what those board seats look like. You know, so Alexis, you will be here in 2 years. Could you run with that?
Carry the mantle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I do think it should be a legislative change for sure. So just remember that anyone that's sitting on this board in 2 years, take a bill over.
But we have an opportunity today.
You do, but I'm just telling you because you should change that.
Absolutely.
If you really want representation, you need to change it.
Yeah, it's a
It's
good
it's a fair,
That's
it's a fair change, and I think they would also probably welcome it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just putting it on your radar.
For sure.
Then you know that you.
All right, we're gonna vote.
Well, everybody else.
Are you ready?
Are you waiting for me?
Yeah.
Okay, see, we got all, I love talking about the airport. Okay,
Nothing on DC yet.
yeah. That's a true. Okay, all right, we'll see if we can get there. If not, then I'm gonna throw it away.
Ready? Hillary Schieve has voted for Eddie Applesert. Steven Squaga has voted for Pascal Dupuis. Greg Long has voted for Pascal Dupuis. Charlene Beide has voted for Pascal Dupuis.
Mhm.
Glenn Carano has voted for John Sandy. Richard J, Eddie Applesert. John East, Eddie Applesert. And Alexis Hill, Pascal Dupuis. So we have a winner of 4-3-1. Mr. Pascal.
All right, congratulations. All right, we all wanna go to Paris. Can you make sure we get flights up there? Okay, so we're gonna need a motion to approve Pascal, I believe, Pascal.
So if I can just say for the record, so the paper votes are to see if we have a consensus, but in order to appoint somebody, we still need a motion to appoint them. Which takes a majority, which takes 5 votes.
Madam
Out.
or administrative.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Hill.
I'd like a second.
I have a second.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You already
Give it to
seconded.
Greg, give it to Greg.
Okay, Greg,
Greg.
I have a second from Greg. Greg, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You may not be happy. I do have some appointees over there that say, Hillary, why'd you put me on here? But they're happy. All right, well, we look forward to working with you.
You too.
Thank you
And I
so
for the
much.
trust. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move along because this one I'm excited about to talk about pretty quickly. This is item D3, Mira, and it's possible action to oppose federal legislation known as the Credit Card Competition Act, and I'm going to send it to Scott Gillis. He's not here, is he?
He's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom. Oh, that's right.
There
Scott, hi.
Hi, Madam
you
Mayor. How
here?
are you?
Hi, it's great to see you.
Great to see you. I'm getting flashbacks of standing in front of you for hours at a time in City Hall.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully it's not that bad. But so give us a little bit of a rundown. I mean, I think this doesn't deserve a lot of discussion. I think it's, you know, one of those bills where we do have to watch it because everyone loves their miles points, their credit card points. I mean, I can't imagine getting rid of those because I do love mine and I've learned how to, you know, do this and do that. And it's just great. So But I think it directly impacts our tourism greatly and also actually across this country, to be honest with you. It's sometimes the only way that you can expand on flying with your family and being able to afford to do it. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about why you're representing this and how we can help?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon to you and the board members. My name is Scott Gillis. I'm with the Griffin Company. First, I want to thank the chair and the board and staff for allowing me to present virtually in between hearings and meetings in Carson City. It's actually kind of a nice break from the legislative session. But I'm here today on behalf of the Electronics Payments Coalition, ultimately seeking RSCVA support to help inform our U.S. senators about the Marshall-Durbin Act proposal that's making its way through Congress, which will have a negative impact on travel rewards and travel in general, which is key to our region, of course, and the state as a whole. The Marshall-Durbin Act, otherwise known as the Credit Card Competition Act, is federal legislation that would limit credit card companies from charging credit card processing costs. These are dollars that are used by credit card companies to cover their cost of doing business, taking steps with innovation internally and security. But most importantly to this conversation, these are the dollars that are used for credit card reward programs that are hugely popular, obviously, and widely used for travel throughout this country. In short, the legislative proposal by Senators Durbin and Marshall would jeopardize these credit card reward programs, will impact tourism and hospitality directly, and particularly the co-branded partnership cards with the airlines that most people have and are familiar with. You should have in your materials, which will explain this the impact much better than I will, some information from U.S. Travel, the U.S. Tourism Economy Alliance, USTEA, and Airlines for America, which all lay out their opposition to and concerns about the Durbin-Marshall Act, as it will impact travel rewards programs and by extension travel and tourism spending. A couple of the key statistics, and I won't belabor this, from the U.S. travel document you have, really paints a picture of how much consumers rely on these credit card rewards programs in this country in particular. Each year, 12% of flights are booked using credit card points, or over 15 million air trips. Over 30 million U.S. households have airline rewards credit cards, and 84% of credit cards offer rewards which can be redeemed for travel expenses, particularly flights. Those materials, for a little bit of procedural context, those materials all refer to this bill as it was introduced last session in Congress, 2023. Cut to present day, the sponsors have indicated their intent to move forward with the same legislation through an amendment to the Genius Act, which is a bill related to the cryptocurrency industry. As expected, as prefaced and expected, Senator Marshall of Kansas filed this amendment to the Genius Act, and it is the same language as the bill from 2023. So no surprise there. The amendment is expected to be voted on within the next 2 to 3 weeks, according to our feedback and intel. So the timing is right to bring this matter before the board, and ultimately gain this body's support to push back on the Durbin-Marshall Act. Ultimately, I'm here today with the formal request that the RSCVA authorize signing on to a letter opposing the Durbin-Marshall Act, a letter that would be sent to our U.S. Senators Cortez Masto and Rosen. For a little bit of context, we are also working with other partners in the state. Your counterpart in Southern Nevada, the LVCVA. I've had extensive conversations with them about this and have made the same request. For full disclosure, LVCVA is a client of our firm, and it is supportive. They're supportive of the letter, whether it's done separately on their own or as a joint letter with this organization. So with that, we would appreciate the board's support on this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have, Madam Chair.
Okay, Chair stepped out real quick, so open up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So I'm really familiar with this act. I appreciate Mr. Gillis coming and giving I think a thorough presentation. I think it makes 100% sense for us as a tourist agent organization to encourage people who want to spend money here to spend their money and not get affected, especially by getting their points taken away, which is what this does. So I'm prepared to make a motion if the board is ready. Here, someone will say, yeah. So Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we approve RSCVA signing on to the opposition for the Durbin Marshall Act, Credit Card Competition Act, and submit a formal letter.
Okay, and second, okay, it's been moved to seconded. I'll open up to any further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, motion carries.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Thank you very much.
We're the famous mayor readers, no, I don't need them. Okay, so we are on item D2 now, correct?
No, sir.
D4, okay, I'm sorry, I do need those readers out. Public hearing review and adoption of the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority fiscal year 2025-2026 budget resolution number 603. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Mike Barragetta for the record. Before we jump into D4.
Do you see what I'm gonna?
Yes,
If
sir.
I can just jump in because it's a public hearing. Can we just?
Do we have any
There's no
public
public comment?
comments?
No public comment on this time.
Okay, great, thank you.
See if I can pick up where I left off. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Before we jump into D4, I just wanted to quickly, I don't know if you saw Miss Ernie was a few minutes late today. And on behalf of our staff and letting the board know, we just want to congratulate her as Christine was one of 75 women recognized today, the Nevada Women's Luncheon.
Over there. Oh, thank you.
Good job, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, jumping into D4. So today, we actually have three presentations tied into this agenda item. The first is our contracted food service provider, Aramark. We'll be providing their fiscal year budget. We will follow Aramark with Mr. Chad Peters, who will present the capital facility budget for all four facilities. And then Tasha Holloway from marketing will present the special event funding recommendations from the committee for fiscal year 25-26. Aramark, thank you.
I'm Andy Rackbaum, the district manager at Aramark. We've been operating the facility for about 3 years now. We're going to be presenting with Mike Dillon-Crawford, he's our controller with Aramark as well, so he oversees all the financial pieces that go together with the various services. Just so everybody's aware, we have yearly audits every year, and each year at the end of the fiscal, we get an outside company that comes in and audits us as well, and we've had full success with those audits this year. So Michael's going to be reviewing with you coming up here the budget for 25-26. Also reviewing in more detail the financial pieces to the 4 different locations that we're operating from. And then giving some more highlight about how we put the budget together for this upcoming fiscal and where we are currently year to date as well. So I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you.
And I'll be here to answer any questions as well.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Or will we, sorry. We can make me from here or is it?
Oh,
That's okay. Alright. The clicker.
Oh,
There you go.
All right. Aramark's proposed 2025 budget by location. The revenues for the RSCC are 2.5 million, and after associated costs, our RSCVA profit of $633,000. The event center will be about $1.4 million. After associated cost profit to the RSCVA of $179,000. The livestock will be about $300,000 in total revenue. That's sales and other income, just so you know. RSCVA profit of $25,000, and last but not least, MBS with about $1 million in total revenue and a profit of $106,000. And then at the bottom we have actuals to show a comparison of sales, not including other income by year. So we're showing about $3 million for 2023 for year one, year two, about $3.3 billion, and for the current year, including
You're right, Toby.
a 2-month projection for the last 2 months of $3.8 million.
Yeah.
You went.
I appreciate it. Okay, the next slide, I'm showing a P&L by year through March. So for year one, year two, and current year. As well as the showing the comparisons of the current year budget and next year's budget, all through March. One thing of note on this slide is you'll see the deficit for the current year. However, we have a big swing for April. We had a great April, and the profit will jump from the deficit to a profit of about $172,000.
We have also made this.
Yeah, are the budget items on the bottom two, are they for 9 months or 12 months?
All through March.
Oh, so everything's in March. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next slide is
I know we glanced over that, but if we go back to budget again, can we go back to that slide again? I mean, let's talk this through for a second. So we said that we thought the RSCVA profit was gonna be 817,000, right? And now we're sitting at 21,000 negative. Help us understand that.
Okay, a huge swing.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we're sitting at about 170 and change.
Through April, but then we'd have to update the budget through April, right? I mean, we still have a big variance, right? So help us understand where that's coming from.
So REC is the most impacted location. Being that what we had projected over the last 2 years and what we thought was gonna be the projection for this current fiscal has not materialized. So now we're working hand in hand with the RSCVA collectively to make sure that either it's the projections that they're going for, we're gonna project with them.
So you're saying that REC was the biggest negative contributor?
REC is the biggest.
And so how do we have that budgeted in 25, 26?
We will show you here
Okay.
in a minute, and then also some variances are. Some of these had a lot more catering than concessions. So we have formulated new investment that we've given over the past year at the Reno Convention Center as well. Which has really helped with the concessions input as well for food and beverage services. So as we expand and grow into this new fiscal, I do feel that the revenue drivers are gonna come much better, especially at the convention center that we've put in these facilities.
I can ask a quick question as well. The average expenditure per person, up, down, same, would you say from previous year?
We're up a little bit because of the fact that we've put new IDs and food establishments at the convention center. We do see attraction where it's coming into, let's just say, a general population event, that we're trying to keep the prices stable, that they're trying to make that spend as well, but we're really focused on value for money for what they're spending.
I'm just trying, along with Mr. East here, trying to understand this huge swing.
Yes, we have made adjustments also in our management, so we've had a reduction of workforce as well.
Well, that should benefit us.
It's going to benefit, yes, and Aramark has taken the severance piece to this on their own P&L, so it does not reflect the P&L of the RSCVA. So we've noticed that we saw a trend, we've made a change to that trend as well, so we can make sure that this P&L will work.
So, because we were expecting about $500,000, correct? So right now, and then we're still about $400,000 short. And we have what? May and June left, 2 months of the reporting cycle. So the chances are coming up with that $400,000 to bring us up where we were. The chances of that are.
We have $175,000 right now, closing in the month of April, which we have submitted reportedly, that we get our final approval. That's why we do not have it on the board right now, but we are in the black.
Right, we're in the black, but we're nowhere near that $500,000, and we're not gonna be at that $500,000. That's what my concern is that, we budgeted for this, we put in our budget, now it's woefully short.
I'm just trying to understand that.
Well, now we're collaborating with Renee and her team to make sure that what we are projecting is projecting on the same trajectory as the RC.
And was that not taking place before?
We were, but we were also anticipating at REC that more events would happen this year. And the profit is more favorable there because it's more of a wet environment, beverage, not just food. So beverage would be a driver to that as well.
When did we see this trend starting to happen?
I would say fall of last year.
Okay, so do we have any mechanisms to look at this and say, hey, our revenue is woefully short? And do we need to do some kind of augmented budget, or maybe say what's going on here? So we're not thrown in at the 10th month with a $325,000 deficit.
Okay, I've had conversations with Courtney, and going forward, we are going to go have a call every month to go over the financials, good or bad, and basically, talk the story. If there was events that were canceled or there was added events, and to just go through a variance analysis.
So real quick question, then I'll be done. Mike, compared to the previous year, did we have a huge number of cancellations? Is there anything on our end that we didn't have from the previous year that would have impacted this as much?
So I'm sorry, Mr. J, for 24-25?
Yeah, kind of comparing the 2 years and.
Yeah, so the biggest deficit of the 4 facilities, and this is redundant, was by far the Reno Event Center. The delta was nearly $900,000. And that is really driven by the decrease in number of concerts that we have had in prior years. The concerts really drive the revenue within that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your response. I appreciate it.
No problem. So it is just a breakdown.
Okay, this is just showing a comparison of the budget for 2025-2026 P&L by year versus the upcoming budget. And as you can see, I know it's redundant again, showing the REC revenues from year 1, year 2, and what we have through March is, it's dropping. But hopefully for the upcoming budget, with the anticipated events that are going to be booked, that we will get back up to that number.
And these were the requests from Courtney as well, that this is the breakdown that she would like to see, was submitted to her as well. That every month this will be broken down.
I think if I can ask a question of Mr. Esquaga, we kind of discussed this at our finance meeting last week and kind of expressed our concerns with the budgeting and the numbers that we're getting back, correct?
Yeah, I'm just being candid, we need a reset, and I think been assured that that's what we're gonna be having on how this is moving forward, but I don't think we can be this far off.
I agree.
And
not know it until the 10th month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we have, if the raise the flag, if we're seeing shortfalls, where we're coming, again, if we're missing a budget either positively or negatively, we're going into augmentation mode. But to find out with 2 months remaining doesn't cut it, so. You're spot on.
I think we're pretty
clear. I think we're clear.
Yeah.
Yep, and we just submit every month to Courtney as well for review of month-end financial analysis, but I do feel we need to have a lot more candid conversation every month of what is happening with Courtney and the finance team.
I just sharing, I think this is the challenge of having outsourcing. This is the advantage of running privately, right? Is you have internal meetings, you're all under the same roof, you're sharing the same information, and we need to, whether it's on your end, our end, or both, I think marry that up so we're not having these miscommunications like this, because these are large gaps.
That's a great point, Stephen. Again, my clerk for the record. So we have definitely made that a priority moving forward as we approach the next fiscal year. I've tasked Mr. Peters and Ms. McGinnis to be dual reporting structures through Aramark, to meet with them there's an accountability issue, there's a performance issue, there's making sure that all information is disclosed on a monthly basis to ensure we know exactly where we are. To your point, when you're in-house, you see the book of business, you can adjust and pivot based on your labor and operating expenses instantaneously, so.
Have you been getting that information?
I believe Aramark does provide that to finance on a monthly.
You do. Operating statement and then the breakout of the revenues, because the operating statement will just show
total, but then I break it out in a spreadsheet for Courtney of by location.
But what we want to do, Madam Mayor, is that living in finance versus living in sales and operations are a little bit separated. So we want to make sure that everyone in the organization that has a touch with Aramark is seeing that data.
Yeah, do you
not
get
just-
that information?
I do not.
You don't get that
I do
information?
not.
It's not shared with you?
I'm not on the,
No, okay.
but I will be.
Fine, through finance, I would assume. Finance gives it to you.
It all goes to finance. No, I do not see it. No, it goes to finance. But moving
Yeah.
forward, we are, as I mentioned, Chad and Renee, we are all going to be copied on all production moving forward.
Okay.
We should just look at this as an extension of our business, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
review
Yeah.
Departments,
Right.
just review this and then enforce everything.
Absolutely. We obviously have an investment in our provider for the agreement, so we should be looking at like, it is our house.
Yeah, record. Yeah.
Okay, next slide is the 25-26 detail of the labor breakdown, which was on the first slide showing what the budget was showing by location here and some stats and percentages as you will notice. Total labor is 55% and currently we're running at 62. So we are dropping, and some of that is the reduction that we mentioned in workforce with 2 managers. And doing a forecast by event as well. So tracking laborers.
In this upcoming fiscal year, right, we have the men's and women's bowling, right? If we were to review where you sit right now with this percentage of labor and compared it to the last year that we had the open, would it compare similarly in terms of percentages and dollars? I mean, assuming, with merit or whatever else that's taken place since then.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, we took the actual sales from the prior time they were here and then adjusted accordingly for the budget for this upcoming budget.
okay, so we anticipate same hours of operation for our venues and, okay, great, thank you.
If I could just comment on that, Mr. East, just, we made a decision during the last open championship midstream, corrected it for the women's, and then correctly, obviously, for the open championship coming up starting in March through July, as a request from USBC revising our pricing significantly, which is, I mean, for me to look at, and I'm sure Mr. Carano sees this as well, knowing stadium as well he does, when you see an open championship in the NBS for 7 months with 100,000 room nights and 50 to 55,000 bowlers, you would assume based on the beverage sales alone, your profitability would be higher. That is a result of labor hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Chad can speak to that probably better than I. And then, of course, the reduced pricing for USBC's request.
Okay, the next slide is the breakdown of the cost of sales. Currently, we're running at 24, 23, almost 25%, and we left that for the upcoming budget at 25%. You didn't want to, touch that with, with inflation, et cetera, that's been going on, so we didn't want to try to lower that at this time.
Is that reasonable given what you just said? I mean, with what's going on with the National Bowling Stadium, is that 25%? I mean, are we gonna be able to hold that with the pricing changes that you discussed?
We are, that's the goal. Yes, we're going to have to.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it's a concern.
Let's do it through mix.
And the last but not least, slide is all other costs outside of labor and cost of sales of all of them. It just shows you by location and total. All your tech costs, your taxes, depreciation, management fee, all that fun stuff. In the past, we were at 23%, so hopefully we'll be around 20% that we're budgeting.
Okay, right. Any other questions on this? You gonna take over? You gonna?
No, it's all you.
No, thanks.
I'm gonna be critical of you. I'm gonna sit here and watch you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bring it next, zero on that paycheck. Okay, any other questions? Steven, do you have any based on the finance committee?
No, I mean, I know we're gonna go into a broader budget discussion. As everybody knows, finance committee did take an initial. We had I had a pre-board, but we had a board meeting, finance committee, facilities, Mr. East, Mr. J, Ms. Bivey, myself. And even I'll speak more into the broader budget. For the most part, I think we had a few little massage. A few numbers, but for the most part, I think we went in. I think fairly conservative. I think taking into account and trying to kind of read the tea leaves of what's going on in the tourism industry and even seeing our counterparts in Southern Nevada and taking everything into account. I feel good with what we're putting forward. Again, it's advisory. But it just more than anything to let you know that we have vetted it. We were on a call with Aramark during this presentation. And address some of these concerns as well. So leave it at that.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Mike, you want to
Thank
move
you.
it forward?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Mr. Peters will now quickly go through the proposed capital by facility. We broke it down just to be complete transparency by facility, by amount, totals, and then also a percentage that is allocated by facility. So please chime in with any questions as Chad goes through each facility.
Thank you, Chad Peters for the record. We're gonna go through this. We'll start out with our Reno Sparks Convention Center. And what I'm gonna do is, what I'm gonna do is just hit on the high number items on each of these slides. But if you have any questions on hitting them, please ask. So the first one here is the bleacher purchase for $808,000. Currently, we can host 1,197 seats with our bleachers. By purchasing these, it adds an additional 680 new seats to give us a total of 1,880. This was a crucial piece for us in getting the conference championships that we have coming. We have 2 of them, I believe, that we have coming. So this gets us closer to that number, and with our staff, we can get over the number that we need to try to hit to meet our requirement for those events. The next one would be the skylight replacement, $600,000 for that. We have over 20 plus skylights that are in the RSCC. It's basically a safety issue. They haven't been replaced in a long time. They're very big. They have a bunch of metal structure underneath them. And during our events, like volleyball, we had a major rainstorm and we had buckets, that we had to set out to get all the leaks that were coming from the skylight. So this is definitely something that not only is a cosmetic fix for the building, but a safety issue as well, that we could really shore up by taking care of our skylights. The next one is the purchase of the new ballroom carpet for $350,000. That one, we have over 40 events a year in there. We on average in the last 3 years, we've done over $500,000 in revenue. That is all rolled carpet. When we have the forklifts and the things that go through there, the rolled carpet really starts to damage that. And we want to get back to where we have carpet tiles and we don't have a bunch of different patterns in there. With all the food and the catering that we do in there, it'd just be a lot more presentable for us and it would look a lot better, but also have a better opportunity to fix and change as we need to when we have damage to that carpet. The last one on this slide I want to touch on is the $700,000 for the purchase of the new 500-ton chiller. It's the backup to our 1,000-ton chiller, and that's our main one. The 500-ton one is our backup, which we have to have because if we're in July and we have something going on, as you well know, it's going to get very hot in there. And this one can take care of the services that we need within that building to take care of everyone, to make it comfortable for everyone that's in the building. And we don't have to have 1,000 tons, but the 500-ton will do the job until we can get the 1,000-ton back online. So that is all the ones I'm going to touch on this slide. If there's any questions, I'll take those. If not, I'm going to go to the next one.
Please do so. Thank you. Any questions? Let me ask that first. Yes, sir.
What is our annual CapEx?
So, and Mr. Cronin, Mike Larry for the record. So generally, it averages out to about 10% of the total budget. We're not obligated by statute. It's an RSCVA policy that we try and achieve. This year, we're at 9.6 or 9.8, I believe.
9.6.
And there's with a total budget of 43 million, it's around just under 4.3.
4.205. is what we're allocating this year, 9.6 of our budget.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? Okay, keep moving.
Thank you. The next one is our Livestock Event Center. As you heard earlier, we're kind of pivoting a little bit on maybe the change of what's going to happen in legislature with that property. But the ones that we really wanted to touch on was the grandstand bleacher repair for $90,000. So those are the pull-out bleachers in the main arena. Those need to be replaced for safety. When they get pushed in and pushed out all the time, they get a little cattywampus and a little crooked, and we have to go in there and replace some of the parts and everything. So that is a major, that one is more safety than anything for our staff to be able to pull those bleachers in and out. The next one, I'm going to skip down to the purchase of the new turf tractor for $90,000 down towards the bottom. That is a 1986 model that is smaller than our other two tractors. It can only get in certain areas of the arenas. And we need to have that to rip up certain areas, the runways into the main arenas, the pins and other situations. So it's better for small events too. And then it gets in areas that we can't hit with our big major tractors. We have two of those. The third one is the purchase of a new buddy trailer. So that is kind of sounds counterproductive. It's not just someone riding around in a cart next to someone in a tractor. That is actually a mulching unit that comes in behind a tractor that we can now clean 40 stalls instead of 20 stalls. So time management, it helps us with time management. It also helps us with our waste management bills that we pay, because we can mulch everything and get it more compacted before we put it in the dumpster. So those are the ones I'm going to touch on this slide. Is there any other questions for livestock?
Any? Yes, sir.
Yeah, real quick, and I think I asked them in the pre-board, but grandstand bleacher bird, that's the outdoor arena, correct?
No, it is the indoor arena. Yeah. The outdoor one's a little tricky, just because we do replace the boards on those, and the Reno rodeo helps a lot with that. But those ones, because of the weather and everything, we try to just, when they get to the point where they're an issue, we take care of them. It becomes a safety thing. But these are the ones, if you think about in the old days when you pulled the bleachers out by hand, or the motorized ones, and if a rock gets in one part of them and the other one doesn't, they get a little sideways and they just get damaged easier. Okay, any other questions with
I'm
livestock?
still struggling with livestock, given the pending change in relationship, right? If we're gonna go from landlord to tenant effectively, and that's what I think I heard from Jesse, is that what's happening?
So currently, the management agreement will change hands from the county to the state.
Okay.
The conversations that we have had with the state is that they will maintain the RSCVA as the managing organization of the livestock. But until that bill is approved, until we have an agreement in place, we strategically tried to identify lower expenditures within that facility, and also assets that, for whatever reason, if that contract does not materialize here, assets that we truly could move into other facilities and have a value to them.
Very good. Thank you.
And just to clarify, Mike, the changing of partnership, so does not affect any of the business on the books as of now.
It does not.
It's kind of business as usual.
Correct. We do anticipate that the state is going to want to incorporate some new events, both room generating and non-room generating. But until we actually sit down and hear their plan, and also the other side of that is we don't know what their capital plan is either.
But any events that we had on the books would take precedent over anything they wanted to do, do you think?
I don't think in the conversations we've had with them, we met with them several times. They have no intent of moving any events that are contracted through the next fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah.
No real impact on this.
Okay.
Anything else?
So, this turf tractor is gonna be curious, I don't think I get one I'm home. How big is this?
So we have two main tractors that rip, if you think of the outdoor arena, that rip the outdoor arena in between events. This one is a smaller one that we can get down the chutes and we can get in between. So it's just a smaller tractor. It's more of you know, about the size of an SUV type tractor. It's not, you know, it's not your big tractors in there. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm sorry.
What would it cost to rent it on a monthly basis?
I know, I can get back to you with that, but I think the biggest thing that they need is getting these things in and out of the chutes. When we have those events, we have to rip all that dirt, and it's just that smaller tractor that we need for that. And as you can tell, since 1986, we've had one, so we're hoping if we get this one now, sometimes it doesn't start. It's getting a little, the Band-Aids we're throwing on it are getting a little more expensive than what it would be just to go out and get one.
So can you guys coordinate a rental schedule?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Sounds good.
okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, keep moving on, please.
Okay, thank you. The next one is the National Bowling Stadium. So what we did here last year, we did a really good job with capital to improve some areas that we needed to have for all the clients. But this one, basically we have the two items on here that we're trying to spend money on areas to reactivate spaces that'll bring in rental revenue for us and rental purposes. So obviously install the new carpet for the theater. We have the theater up and running. We already have some people that have booked it for the next year. We're really excited about that. And then the Stadium Club upgrade. So the Stadium Club is an amazing space. The bar in there is great, and the things that we can do in there are amazing. But we have those windows that are stained that overlook the Row properties, Caesar's properties across the street. And you have that beautiful view, but the windows are so damaged over time, over 30 years. We would like to upgrade those as much as we can, replace those windows, get it back to when we have an event going in the evening. We can just see our beautiful downtown and everything that's going on there. So that's what those upgrades are for that space.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I do. You know, of course, I have to have a comment on this.
Come on.
It's the bowling stadium. Chad, I want to say thank you so much. I had the opportunity to be in a meeting, I don't know, last week maybe, with Chad. I was really, really impressed. Like, he gets this space. It's something we've needed for a long time. And you are passionate about it, which I really like. He's like, this. And so, I have hope, and I really am very, glad that you're seeing sort of the bigger picture, like with those windows and those, you know, things. And we want to work obviously with you at the city, but I appreciate someone on this side really paying attention to what it could be. And I think, you know, you're going in the right direction. So thank you. I really, when are we gonna get a tour? Cause you're really excited about the theater.
Well, I want to get that carpet in there first, because I don't like the carpet that's in there now. But
Okay, I want to do the
love to
Rocky
have you
Horror
guys in
Picture
there.
Show in there.
Great.
So what we're gonna
Ready?
do,
Wouldn't
Madam
that be
Chair,
awesome?
if I may, what, Mike,
Go ahead.
for the record, we're actually in a senior staff meeting earlier this week, we had a discussion about what would be a good way to introduce the theater. And so every year we do two events. We do obviously a holiday event for our employees and families. We do a summer ending fiscal year event, whether it's an Aces baseball game, whatever it be. So we decided this year we're going to do bowling and Kingpin in the theater. And we'll do like 3 different nights. So we will obviously
The
invite.
movie Kingpin.
Sure, we can do that too. That'd be great. Yeah. I don't know if that would be appropriate. Is it appropriate for children?
And we should totally do a red carpet thing, and we'd be like starring Glenn Carano. He will be signing autographs.
All I need is
We
a
need to
crap
do
day.
it.
Next year's the 30th.
It is.
We need to do it, and we are not paying you an appearance fee.
Right.
We need to
We're
do
actually bringing
it.
back 10 too, Bill Murray.
Oh, wow.
So the goal is to do 3, we'll do obviously a children's family friendly version. We'll do something in the middle, and then we'll do Kingpin.
No, we really need to do that, because
Yeah.
it's like a cult classic now.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
You know,
And
and
Rocky.
people would come out for that because it was filmed there, but I think it'd be fun to kind of highlight, we have one of the stars of the movie.
That's had a lot of fun on that.
I bet that looked like a ton of fun.
Yeah, we host them at the Civil A's for all of December, and probably 2 months or so. And we had a buffet, and instead of having the buffet, we had a potato bar.
Oh.
And we should have kept a potato bar.
Because everyone loved it, but then.
Bill Murray grew up in Chicago flipping pizzas. He was flipping pizzas in Brew Brothers at 2:00 in the morning. Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah, we had.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was fun, yeah.
But thank you. I'm very passionate about it. And I gotta say, it's a very unique building. Like there's so many spaces in there with Kingpin and what we're doing in the Hall of Fame space. It's almost done. I love that, love that we have a RFP going out for that and that'll be coming up here June 9th. So we just have a lot of cool spaces in there. We can really do some good things. So we're really excited to activate that and see what that turns into.
Yeah, good.
So thank you.
Good, thank you.
Okay, any other questions there?
No.
That's the one I'm really confident about. The rest of them make me a little nervous. No. The Reno Event Center. So what we're doing there, same thing as NBS. What we're gonna do is we're trying to revitalize things over there that would bring better attraction for our clients. So the big one there obviously is the new lighting and sound equipment. So basically right now we're a building and we have to bring everything in from the outside through our partners and our vendors. What we would like to do is put about $300,000 worth of lights and sound and things that can get us not to the concert level, obviously, because that would be way more. This is more of our conventions and comedians and just that smaller group that we can bring things in where they just have to ask for a few little things instead of all the things. And then it's an opportunity for us to make money instead of our partners making money. So it's something that we have as our base package. And then the other two on there, the pipe and drape and the new bleacher curtains, those are aesthetics that we just need to have in there to make things look a little more presentable and just more modern and everything else that we're trying to do over there. So that is what we're doing at the REC. Is there any questions there?
Questions, comments? Great.
Okay. The last thing here, just these are for all the venues. So our storage array upgrades, basically that's for storage for our backups and out of all of our venues. And then the second one is the core switch upgrades. Those are upgrades for the network switches at all 4 sites for public internet use. So we're trying to utilize our internet at all our sites where we have splash pages and utilize our networks to go out and have a little more revenue for us to do things at all the sites when we have our clients coming in there. Okay. And then the last one is our percentage breakdown, and that all totals up to 4.205. And it's as Mr. Larragetta said, that's 9.6% of our total budget. And then our last slide is our carry forward projects. So these are projects that we sat down with Courtney Yeager and Mr. Larragetta and Renee and myself, and we talked about all of our carry forward. These are projects that are on the books, been approved, that are like a second phase or a third phase or things we're continuing on. We actually did go through this list and cut it a little bit and kind of trim the fat, if you will, to get rid of some of the things that we've kind of already taken care of with other projects, or we felt that weren't as important as the ones that we do have going on moving forward. So if anyone has any questions, this is in your packet. You can ask me at any time. I can fill you in on these, but a lot of these projects, just in the last, I've been here a little over a month now. In the last month, we've shored up quite a few of these. There's a lot of in progress ones, even the ones that aren't in progress. We've already started on what they say not started. We've tried to really shore up this list as much as we can.
Right.
Yes.
On the AV equipment, so that is still happening for the livestock events then?
Yes.
Okay.
So we just signed off on that last week. That's gonna happen. So there's 3 things on here that in the last week, the video wall, the Wi-Fi upgrade and the AV upgrade are all things that are going on at the event center right now. So we could get all those finalized before the Reno rodeo, because that was a big
Okay.
priority.
So we are doing the video wall.
We are putting we did just put out and to purchase
Okay.
a 20 by 12 video wall, which is separate than the scoreboard. The scoreboard is a different conversation.
Okay.
So if that's where you're going, then
Yeah.
that's a whole different conversation.
Thank
But
you.
the video wall is something that we rented last year.
Okay.
When I came into this position, we started looking at what it would be to rent and what it would be to buy. We found something that we could buy that's cheaper than what we were renting, and we figured if we could rent it, we could move it.
Yeah.
Or if we can buy it, we
Right,
can
yeah.
move it, why are we renting it? So just trying to make those kind of decisions, be a little more frugal on things that we can use, and it's something we can use in other spaces and we can use to sell. we have other clients, so,
Okay.
Great
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Great.
And that's all I have.
Great.
That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, Mike, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Chad. Dr. Holland will present the special event committee financial recommendations per event.
Okay, well, we're over the 2 hours, so everyone's gonna get up and leave now.
Just in time.
I went to bed.
Well, is it because I'm so old and?
Too hot, too cold.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Tasha Holloway. I'm the Senior Marketing Events Manager, the RSCVA. I'm in my 10th year this year, so love being a part of this organization. An overview for this, especially for those who have not been a part of this process before. I oversee our special event marketing sponsorship fund. The overview for this is we work with a $500,000 budget, and it is for marketing specifically. It comes from our marketing's budget. So as we're awarding these funds, it's with the intention of supporting their marketing efforts. We had 54 total applications. I apologize, I think I put 52 in the board packet. But it is in fact the most in the program's history. So we accredit that to our events thriving, as well as all the wonderful communication our team has been working on to connect with the community and make sure those qualifying events know that this exists. And then this was just the first of my 2 official openings of the application. So I always open it in late winter, early spring for the major portion of it. So we know what we're looking at for the year. And then I'll open it again in late summer, early fall for those events that are new. If we have anybody who maybe had issues before or weren't quite developed yet. So we do make sure that there's still contingency funds for any events that we're not able to apply the first time. As far as the panel process goes, it consists of our CEO, some marketing staff, some sales staff, and then event development was added this year, which I think Valerie was a great addition. We sit internally and discuss this and look at every application and really go through them individually and talk about it. When we're looking at qualifications for events coming through, I should have switched these, but and this is just a small list. There's a lot more, but these are the ones I'm just highlighting today. Is the event annually held? Of course, because the intention of this program is to give funding to draw more out of market, to grow and help grow that visitation with these events over time. And then they must have a partnership with at least 2 Washoe County properties. And when we say that, we mean, is it a room block? Is it discounted room rates with a property? Is it maybe if it's a large scale event, they use a property for a vendor for part of their event. So those are 2 major qualifiers. And then as we go through and talk about them individually as a panel, we consider a few of these things, or all of these things plus more, I should say. The ability to grow and increase their room nights. The plans for the funding dollars, which is really important. So when they're applying, they're not just saying, I want $10,000. It's, well, where did that number come from? And how do you foresee using that funding for marketing? The uniqueness of an event, is this competition with something else in a city that takes place, every year at the same time? Does it align with a positive perception of the destination and with our brand is important, which also leads to marketing opportunities for us. So oftentimes we'll see value in an event that maybe is, say, activating a space that isn't normally activated, that we can get digital assets for to really promote the destination. The potential reach, if you remember when the air races were here, we gave them quite a bit of money for their broadcast. So if there's potential reach to get our brand even further, that's taken into consideration. And then not the last one, but location and who benefits from that. Is it held at a place that we have lots of properties that will thrive from it, or, an area that maybe doesn't get as much love. So we take all of those things into consideration. And then this is in your packet. You don't have to squint to read this if you don't want to, but we have 3 categories that we look at our events when they apply. Our emerging is events in their first 5 years of existence. Established is 6 years or more, and then our legacy events are 10+ years, as well as either having 5,000 room nights generated or over 250,000 in out of market media exposure. So Arctown, for example. So we look at them in these categories when they submit. You'll see that I laid them out really from the lowest funded to the largest in each one. Another thing I want to point out too is if an event doesn't get funding, whether they go through this program or not, we find ways to work with them on their marketing efforts, whether it's including them on our digital calendar on the website, maybe it's a social media push. Our social team does monthly event roundups that will give, love to these guys. So you don't have to be a part of this program to benefit from our partnership. And for those, depending on the scale they have here too, we've done customized, influencer programs with these events too. So it goes above and beyond this, but this is what we're talking about today. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, good job, thank you. Any questions? Comments?
Yeah.
Thank you for, I sat in on this years ago.
Yeah.
On this process, and it's come a long way, and what a task, cause you've got only so much pie and everybody pulling on it, but it seems balanced and.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everyone
It's
wants
pretty
it,
fun. There's
right?
A lot of thought put into it.
Mr. Brown, you have a question?
Are these all cash or are they cash or in kind?
Correct. It's all cash. So we do 50% at the signing of contract, and then 50% once it's complete, they have to provide a post-event report in order to get the funding.
The Reno Tahoe International Art Show, how long is that to be emerging?
So that one is in its 4th year, I believe.
So emerging just keeps on going for.
After 5.
Until, once it's 6 years, they'll.
How flexible are you, because we see it at the city, this is one thing Alexis is so good at. Is being really flexible even at the last minute to make sure that we are part of an event instead of being. Like a government with a lot of red tape, and we also know a lot of the background on a lot of these events are artists. And artists sometimes tend to, think about it a little differently the way we think about it, because we can really put them in a box, and we have missed out on some really great opportunities at the city by putting in too much red tape and, keeping everyone in a box. And of course, I get them over at in my office saying, why didn't I get funded? And, and similar here, I hear the same argument from over here. Is there some idea or recommendation that we can make to be a little bit more flexible? Like I hope this year, obviously Western Lights, and that's a prime example, right? That because it didn't fit in your box, and also on our end, we're both gonna take some responsibility there. But my point is, if we can be a little more flexible, how can we do that so that we can make sure? The other thing I would say is, I don't know, what the conversation should be around 500,000 a year for special events. I don't know, is that low for a market our size, or is that in line? I don't know.
No, it's a great point. And we have had this conversation years ago about changing it. And we as a panel every year, like I said, the way that we look at it, since this is a marketing sponsorship, is the funding we have still works very well, even with this increase in event applications, is based on what they're asking for and our fiduciary responsibility, it still fits within that budget. So we haven't found a reason maybe to adjust it at this point. Now, I'll say we work very closely with our director of event development, Valerie, and while she's out looking and searching and kind of digging up, we're finding these new events. So I could see that transforming over the years into something more.
I feel like one of the things, there's a big complaint, we get it at the city too, and I see it over here, is we don't do a good enough job of getting our name out there that we're looking. Cause I hear it all the time, even with I know a guy who is one of the most incredible artists, I think, in the entire world, lives right here in Reno, Nevada, and has never done a mural for us. And I saw him the other day, I go, why haven't you done, you are like incredibly talented. And he said, I never know whenever it's happened, a lot of people have no idea that we might have it on the website. We do a terrible job. Like that should be a big press release. And not you, but I'm saying at the city, we could do such a better job of getting it out there. How many times you get the same pool of artists because you're going through the same channels? And so I think we have to throw a much broader net. And even all of you guys in the gaming industry, I bet there are people you'd be surprised that would want to apply for some of this. But I also think any consideration for downtown, because we did see and I'm not just saying it because I'm a huge champion of downtown or a huge supporter of downtown, but we all saw the results of that survey that we had, what, 2 meetings ago? And it wasn't good for downtown, and I think we need to pay attention to that, because again, it doesn't matter where you stay, people have a perception of downtown, and that is going to be the perception of Reno. You know, and that marketing feedback had a lot to, I mean, we should all be paying attention. I know everyone's got an interest here and they might not believe that, but I need people to start rowing in the direction of downtown if you want to have a better perception of what we're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And I would say too, when I had mentioned previously that we take into consideration location, venue, and who benefits from it, we absolutely had that conversation as a panel. Downtown was definitely a big part of that conversation.
Great, okay.
Alexis?
Just really quick note, I know that also in addition to the list you're seeing, Tasha goes to everything in town, and they also send RSCVA photographers that we pay for, like, you're not seeing this on this list, but as a way to build bridges with these little events that aren't quite there.
Yeah.
They are still like seeing how they can help them, and I think just to note for the staff, remember, if there is an event that you're like, this is a really great event, but we can't fund it and they need some help, please let us know, because at the county, we have fewer resources than we used to, but we have resources, and if we can support those events, like I've been supporting Gospel Fest for since I was elected, because they don't really fit into a niche necessarily. So anyway, I just wanted to put that plug in for the staff to know that there are resources around this table as well.
What about our own events? Like, when are we gonna, like, how do we decipher when we're gonna, like, one thing, I'd love to see the cowboy crawl. I'd love to get that downtown. We've talked to the rodeo about that, but I don't see it coming to fruition. So how do we identify that, hey, that's our event? Right? Like, and it doesn't come out of this, or what, Mike?
If I understand the question, I'm sure are you talking about owning the event itself? So.
Or I don't even care if we own it, but at least help them.
Yeah, helping.
Yeah, because, you know, we could do a lot more to get engaged with the rodeo, to start building up these events, and I think we should look at some of those opportunities.
And we have had that discussion with the rodeo numerous times. The idea is identifying a producer, whether it's the existing gentleman who does the crawls. And obviously is a big production.
Yeah.
We would be very interested. I
Okay.
think that the difference is owning, operating, and producing an event versus funding an event.
Right.
Two different conversations.
Okay, that's a very good question. So we don't wanna be owning and producing and
That's
funding an event. We want a promoter to do it.
Correct, so
Okay.
through the special event funding is obviously one mechanism, through event development is another mechanism, through the $1 million that the board approved for risk at the REC is a third. And again, all of those are trying to identify producers, promoters, agents that want to come to Reno Tahoe to
Okay.
produce an event.
Well, I'm glad I know that now. No wonder I've been so hard on you. I'm on Mike, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? And this, where's the burner bowl? Where's the sock apple? I mean, he gets it from me.
I think.
Poor Mike,
I
like,
think
gets
the
it from me.
last event that we actually produced and ran was the US Conference of Mayors.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
It was a good one.
Yeah.
it was great.
But it was a year. It was,
There you go.
You
Charlie,
did a great job.
it was great.
Thank you, Richard. Real quick question, Tasha. So on this amount, is this the full 500, or did we leave what we've done, and it's been several years? I think when I first got on the board, maybe the second year, we realized that people would come in after all these deadlines, and we'd have some really cool things that came up in the fall, late summer or fall. Have we held something in reserve so that we can facilitate those? In fact, we did the haunted house at that time. That wasn't part of this.
Yeah.
It came in later. Are we doing that still?
Yes, absolutely. That we pulled aside contingency funds for exactly that reason. In fact, I would say last year we had 2 or 3 new events that came through. Dancing on the River was one of them, and blinking right now, but it was really wonderful to be able to do that and work with them. What we also use that money for, and bear with me in thinking through this, but if you think about it right now, Riverfest is a really good example of this. Riverfest takes place at the end of May. They haven't taken place yet this year, but they're applying for funding for next year. So what happens too in the fall is when we open it up, we say to those spring events, Street Vibes is another one. If say you had a successful year or an unsuccessful year, was there something you learned that you would like to reapply for now that you've been through your 2025 event? So we leave that money there for a couple of reasons, but new events is definitely one of them.
How much did we leave in the
To
contingency?
90,000.
90, perfect, thank you.
Right. Okay.
Can I just ask one more
Of
thing?
course you can.
So, what about an existing event whenever they want to expand on that event or they're bringing in a new like immersive experience? Because we have seen that before. And so they already, you know, especially like a legacy event, they already have that allocated to what that could go to. And you're really not helping them expand on maybe reaching or, you know, expanding onto that other event. Trying to think, Art Town is a good example. They are bringing in a very large, sculpture type
Spirit
sculpture,
animals.
yeah, the spirit animals. Right, which actually did start in Paris and was incredibly successful and viral. It's really hard to believe Reno is gonna get that here, but they are. And I know that they came in for funding to help with expand that. And so what does that look like? Cause that's the other piece of it is yes, they get 25, which they've probably gotten 25 for a long time, I assume. But to expand on bringing in, you know, other,
Yes, absolutely. No, they, when Beth had reached out to me about this, we had talked about, we can either wait until this opens up for them to apply for more, which would cut it, our town's so hard because they start July 1, so it's such a tight turnaround. Or we actually directed them to our unsolicited policy. So that's the direction that I was told to tell them to go for this, so they could potentially get funding.
explain it to me. That sounds a little red tape government speak.
No, so because of the time of years when special events opens up their window of opportunity to request funds, it's a tight window, and sometimes those events, to the point of like our town, is right up against that window. It's a very quick decision. So to have an alternative option on a avenue to go and request funds. So we have the unsolicited, which of course under 10,000 goes through senior staff, over 10,000 goes to the finance committee with senior staff approval and then to the board.
Which kind of cuts through the red tape.
Yeah, if it goes that way, that route.
That, if you remember, that was the intent of creating this policy,
Yeah.
was to eliminate the.
Okay, all right, I'm just kind of like.
I know.
Cause we make it really hard, I think, at the city, since Alexis left.
No.
Well,
She paved the way for me.
well, you know,
Obviously, I'm like,
speaking of,
Oh, I'm sorry. go
no,
ahead.
no, speaking of an event that we might be.
you know, I'm gonna be in trouble when I did that.
And we're seeing more and more of them is races. Whether it be a 5K, 10K, half marathon. And I participate in a number of them every year, but if we were. You want, I didn't see you there. You want to see my bib?
See them in running shorts, come on.
Oh, yeah, watch out, flash. But anyway, something like that, wouldn't be a lot, but if we were to sponsor something like that, because those are getting bigger and bigger now. The last one that I ran was.
Your timing is perfect.
Yeah.
This is almost like saying we got a flight to New York.
Yeah.
We,
You know, the last one was the leprechaun race, and that's always a
Oh,
great,
so-
a lot of people.
yes,
So then you got the Valentine's
I
race.
can speak to that without disclosing too much information.
Okay,
But,
please do.
The last 2 days, we hosted a client, Valerie and Shelley Fine. And the opportunity is to host in anywhere between May and June of 26, a full marathon, half marathon, and 10K. It's a downhill race. It would start at Mount Rose, and would finish down in Virginia Street. And there's a proven track record. This individual host multiple races throughout the Western US. Very happy with what we have to offer from Taos perspective. And what really drives the success of this particular brand in this race is that it's a certified Boston Marathon. So if you meet the number you recently.
I'll be the first, put me on for 10K, I'm in.
You got it.
Okay, great, thank you.
It's downhill, Richard, it's hard.
That's why I don't do half, I'm done with half marathons, no more.
And they start at 6 a.m.
Very good.
Any further questions?
Oh, you're taking over now.
I am now.
Good.
Cause we have to be out of here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, good job.
Thank you. Great job, Tosh. The last item, Madam Chair, is on Wednesday, June 5th, thank you, Wednesday, June 14th. We presented the fiscal 25-26 budget to the Finance Committee, chaired by Mr. Esquaga. To Stephen's point, it was well vetted and a lot of questions. Unfortunately, we're not able to get our hands on the presentation itself for today, but I know we provided the packet and a copy of the budget to the board. We're happy to go through it, or whatever's easiest at the board's request. We can, hopefully there are questions that came up that we'd be happy to discuss, whether it's from the CEO perspective or from the department heads, however you'd like to approach it.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Crono.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bothered by your ADR, that your direction there, and so I went to this page right here. And I'd like to have someone explain the column right here. Okay, because I can't come up with the number, and
So the good news is the room tax side, the revenue side is the skill set there is obviously Ms. Yeager and Mr. Douglas, who you know very well. Robert is here today. I asked him if he would participate just because I anticipated this question from Mr. Carano. So Robert.
Come on, he's the expert in the numbers.
Page 9.
Come on up, Robert.
it's actually page 9 in this.
Speaking of which, Robert, we don't get to see you very much, but you do a great job. I love getting, I
Yes.
get your reports.
The emails.
Thank you. Yeah, come sit down.
Do you want to see what page?
Here, I know, Robert, you can come right here and sit in Eddie's seat.
There you go.
Here you go. Here you go. There's page 9.
I have to teach you. So I guess my question is, I actually, a couple pages back, page 8, I guess, not, page 8 was talking. We have the budget for 25-26 being, the ADR of, $140, and currently year to date.
You can't read it.
Robert, I am so sorry. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
That's good, that's.
Hold on 1 second. Madam Clerk, I just have to ask you, do we have any public comment? Because we are really still officially on the record. Okay, thanks. All right, go right ahead, Glenn.
Okay, well, so you got the ADRs up there, $140 up there. And you know, those numbers, if you multiply the cash room nights by the ADR, you come up with the number. And so it's $140 and then in the through year, and that's for the budget, right? That's for the budget for 25-26.
Correct.
And year to date, which is through March, which this year, and so if you go to the next slide. So if you take the first column there to the left, you take $143 and multiply it by the room nights. I'm talking about the hotels only, because they just go right down, they work, but take the 143, multiply it by 2.5 million in room nights, you come up with revenue of $363 million. And those first 3 columns are good. The fourth column, and I know it's year date, and I know there's a good answer to this one that I couldn't figure out. But it's year date through March, and you take 146 and multiply it by 1.8 million. I don't believe it comes out to $318 million. I think it comes out to something around 275. So I'm a little miffed on that, because when I look at your ADR through March of 146, and then next year you're proposing 140, that's a substantial difference.
The hotel budget for 25-26 has an ADR of 143.17.
Okay.
And the way Courtney and I did the budget was we started in January putting it together. We took the actual through January or through December, and then each month we kept adding once the stats were finalized. And then we put in the budget for this year to come up with what we thought it would be, where we would end up. And And so through March, the total overall taxable revenue is at 458 million. That's taking the first 9 months. And then the budget for the 3. And then we tweaked, you know, the ADR, I mean, the rooms are only down a little bit because of the bowlers next year. With the ADR, we dropped it because we don't know what's going on in the world.
Well, I mean, just,
So it's
why is this column not work?
Right. Comes out to 2.75.
Comes out to 275. Comes out to 275 million.
Which one?
Far
Through
right.
March, comes out to 275 million. As opposed to 318.
That's okay. What are you saying, these paper won't please before
Yeah.
that room count? Does not make sense.
What I'm bothered is that 146.
Oh,
times that does not equal that.
through March hotels. Through March, 275.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're showing a different number than.
I-
Unless that went now, unless that's not through March, if you mean that's
I
annualized.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what, how Courtney prepared it. But it is through March, the hotels is 275. April through June is 102,000. And so the total hotel revenue is 377. 377 million.
And we're saying with bowlers next year, it's gonna be down. Right, with.
Right, yeah, the rooms are, the ADR dropped. According to the budget. Rooms are down just a little bit because of the bowlers coming in next year.
Down because of the bowlers coming in next year, help me understand.
No.
Well, you know, you go back to the previous page and page number 8. So you can look at the rooms. So the cash rooms, are actually up to, well, they up to budget, 24, 25.
Yeah.
They're up to budget. And the big deal is the one from 140, you've gone from 23 to 24, you've gone from 147 to 145. That 140, that ends up being a $14 million difference. And I can see you perhaps going down a little bit. You're not really, you're increasing the room nights by about as many room nights as the bowlers actually come to town. No, they come to town more than 50,000. So I'm just kind of curious to see how those numbers came about.
With the ADR, what we did was we took a look at this year's actual, but then we went back to, you know, a couple of years ago when it wasn't quite so high. Because we don't know what's going on.
So are you taking into account the possibility of a recession
Yeah.
and or economic slowdown?
Right, yeah. You know, we'd rather be more conservative with the budget.
Right, make that one column look right. You know, so you're, but anyway, by the way, Robert worked for us for a lot of years. That helped out. So I go back along with you, Robert.
It's just, yeah, it should.
Hey, percent together your budgets.
Yeah. And you do a better job than I did.
So we're taking a conservative approach,
Taking a,
you know,
With our revenue.
planning for the worst, hoping for the best.
right, and I think you brought up at the finance committee meeting, you know, things aren't as bad, come back to.
I'd rather come back and say, hey, they're a little bit better than what we thought, rather than saying they're worse than what we thought, so.
And Mike just add to that, Mr. Vice Chair. So obviously, the finance team is submitting a budget with 3.6% deficit, which then when I looked at the operating expenses by department, we had to make some decisions to reallocate monies within the budget based on where I felt was the best use of those funds. If we overperform, obviously, we have the option to come back to the board and present a budget augmentation. At that time, budget augmentations to me are, unless it's down because of something that happened in the world, are a negative, because to me, it's like you didn't budget correctly from the onset, right? That's why when you do it on budget augmentation, the good is if you do an augmentation, you have additional revenues. Like an example, in this case, in the budget that we're presenting today, we're taking air service from 3 million to 1.75. We would prioritize replenishing those funds back to 2 or 2.25 or 2.5, because we feel it's a line item that's important.
Right, because the economic data we're getting right now is one day is one thing, next day is nothing, we just don't know, and I think it's gonna be predicated on what the second quarter GDP comes in, and what inflation comes in. That's gonna be kind of determining what 3 and 4 and Q1 of 26 are gonna do, so.
Correct.
And the good news for us is April is done. It'll be coming out soon, but April was a very good month. Both in revenue, rooms, ADR.
And what we did, I'm sorry, Rob. What we did share with the finance committee last week was the areas where we made decisions and I made decisions to reallocate monies was, and it falls in line with what our friends down south are doing. We made the decision, instead of being at a 6 or 8% reduction. So the everyone looks at it and says 3.6, well, that's not 8. Well, what you have to take into consideration is the increased expenses. So when you look at the PERS increase, when you look at potential merits or COLAs that we may or may not award as we go through the fiscal year, it inflates that percentage that your percentage goes up. So we made the decision, instead of reducing the marketing budget by 6 or 8%, which is nearly $1 million, to move money from within the budget in different line items to ensure that the marketing budget remained whole. We feel like we're in a position, an opportunity to move market share and still market share, and that is critical for marketing and sales. If you look at what the RSCVA did, they're projecting a 5% definite room tax. They are increasing their marketing budget by $37 million, and they're focusing domestic marketing, $37 million. Now, they have a $400 million budget.
Right.
So it's 10%, but it's still a big number. So if we were to follow suit, we would be inflating our marketing budget by $1 million instead of just trying to make it whole.
Robert, with April in, what, do you know what the ADR year to date is? Did you say 143?
145.43 through April.
So we're on budget on that. And we are, Mr. Scles, I, Robert, pulled this as well. Through April to prior year budget, we're up 3.1% or $11.5 million. When you look at where we are versus last year, we are 1.5% down, or what represents 5.6 million. And it's primarily driven by a reduction of ADR, which is $2.53.
And also, the first part of the fiscal year was not good. And
so, yeah, if you recall, July and August, the results were poor. And then September came along, we had the best September in the history of the RSCVA. Additional weekend, all transparency, so.
And in talking to some of the hotels and the people up at Tahoe, the property managers up there, they are optimistic that we will not take a hit like Vegas, because the proximity to Sacramento and the Bay Area, and people still want to get away, and it's an easy, quick drive to get up here instead of having to fly. Sorry.
What's your projection?
I know.
What's your projection?
Oh my
Back
God.
to your end. Revenue. You have your end.
I haven't updated that sheet, but
My question is, does that 3.6 down actually look like 3.8 or 4.0 down now?
So
April being a stronger month.
So using April through June budget, it would be 458 million in taxable revenue.
So you're saying a 10-2 split, right? 10 months of actual and 2 months of.
No, well, right now it's 9 and 3.
Okay.
Because I haven't updated this.
Okay, all right.
But this is how we did the budget. Well, like I said, in January, we started July through December. And then as we kept going, getting month completed, this would be updated. And that's what Courtney and I used for the final budget, which was the March actual.
Did we get that update sheet to the board once it's done?
I was gonna
You bet.
say, if that's something you could just CC all the board members on, that would be great. Robert, awesome. Okay, any more questions for Robert?
Put me in the hot seat.
But you're doing a great job.
Robert, unfortunately, you're doing so well. We'll see you next month.
Absolutely, Robert, we want you back. All right.
Yeah, in my corner back.
No.
Front and center, baby.
Yeah.
But I would also encourage board members, please send Robert an email and just CC Mike on it. If you want to get more in depth,
Absolutely.
and then I think. Stephen, are you the chair of finance? Okay, and CC Stephen on it too, just in case you might have some insight on the gaming side.
Well, I think Robert, I know you're great about send out that monthly, basically like room
Yeah.
taxes in.
I love that.
With the great link, and it is worth it, just clicking on.
Yeah.
And we do post on our website. Obviously, it's way more than
Yeah, I love it.
media requests, but yeah.
Okay, do we have to take a motion to accept the report? Or no, I guess we're not done yet.
I think we are done. Where are we?
We're done.
Done. Unless there's any other questions about the budget.
All right.
Happy to answer.
So I would propose two motions because the previous presentations all roll up into the budget. I
Okay.
think we should approve them specifically.
Okay,
So I think it would be a motion to approve the Airmark budget as presented,
Okay.
the capital improvement plan as presented, and the special events marketing sponsorship funding is presented. And then when that gets approved, we'll do a motion.
That
to
was
approve the
three.
entire budget.
Three separate, so the first one
I
is,
think all those three.
oh, okay,
so
go
I
ahead.
move we take those first three presentations and accept them as presented.
Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay,
And
now
so
what do you want from us?
the next one, I think, is a motion to approve the 2025-2026 budget as presented.
Move to accept the 2025-26 budget as presented.
Okay, I have a motion,
A second.
I have a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Yeah. Do one more quick thing, I'll stop, eh? We were
So-
going along just fine.
Alright,
Not here.
already, so it's the clerk has a resolution, so everybody that voted, please make sure
Oh.
you sign that before you leave.
Okay,
So you have-
everyone needs to sign the resolution
have
before
to
we
sign.
leave. Erica, so happy to see you. Okay, now we can move on. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on item where we at?
D5.
Bye.
No public comment.
You saw Hillary, don't have to ask again. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna hand it to, you don't even need an introduction. But the one and only Erica Olson, everyone's probably worked with Erica in some capacity. Obviously, she's a trailblazer and a badass woman. So thank you for being here and I can't wait to see your presentation.
Talking about old.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, everybody, for the record, good afternoon, Board of Trustees, appreciate your opportunity to be here. I also know that you have a place to be, so I will be succinct. We have a handful of slides to go through. We did prep some of this in the pre-boards. What I'm looking for from this conversation today is just a temperature check. Are we on the right path?
Yep.
We're not presenting the rest of the plan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
I'd love some of your feedback as we're going through. The team and senior staff has done a lot of work in preparation for this conversation. In addition to that, Ben has really quarterbacked this with Cameron Mott from my team who was stuck on an airplane somewhere, so you're stuck with me. So just to acknowledge the hard work where it is. So with that in mind, just again, sort of a check-in on this. This is the process that we went through. Really specifically guided by feedback from stakeholders, from everybody in this room, from the board, as well as the senior team. We have a check-in today to make sure the where and the what are looking good. And then we'll come back with the how and who. So there are not measures, there is not detail, it's particularly like 30,000 foot on this. I just want to say that because it's just really hard for me to even present this without that level of concreteness, but it's for a reason. So we're aware of the fact that we had individual conversations with every board member to get your perspective.
bringing it all together here today to share with you what that feedback was. And then also, the reason we're talking about this is because we didn't want to build the whole thing and miss this checkpoint. So it's because we didn't have a full retreat. So again, just to solidify, stakeholder feedback, board priorities, community concerns, and visitor feedback, and there should be a fifth checkpoint, senior staff input. So that's the ideas that are in the plan. And I would ask for the senior team to chime in if I miss some.
You're on a roll. Thank you.
So here was what we heard from the board. I would say that not too surprising. It's, you know, some of these themes are have been consistent over the years that we've done this work for this organization, but there is a fine point in some areas. I would say definitely in number one and number two is it related to really, as we've heard all day today, and we've been talking about downtown revitalization and destination infrastructure development, focusing on events and venues, the brand, always strengthening our collaboration with our regional stakeholders. I would say there's always timing for this, and the timing is really good right now with the work that's happening across the region. I'm looking for a diversified visitor experience. Again, feedback from all of you coming together, a sustained economic impact, and then making sure this organization is run well. So those are pretty consistent themes. That's the consolidated view of what you all said. What we heard from stakeholders, and Mike, just remind us again, the folks that were in the room for those stakeholder sessions were generally speaking.
Yeah, so it consists, so we try and do a stakeholder meeting every quarter, and we dedicated the stakeholder meeting in February. Can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
February, I believe, specifically to the strategic plan. So we had business leaders, we had representatives from the gaming, from the hotel, we had representatives from Midtown. We had representatives from the university, so it was representatives from the airport. So a very diverse group of active participants in the strategic plan and what was important to them.
Awesome. And so these are the 5 highlights: air service, events, regional transportation, the retail and shopping experience, and then multi-use and outdoor facilities. So, you know, as always, and maybe it is because we've done a lot of these processes, it's really easy to get all this feedback and then just move along. And so we didn't do that this time. We said, no, let's not do that. Let's build a plan that has a sharper edge to it. Let's build a plan that doesn't just sort of mush all this together and say the same things with different words and different bullet points, different colors. So, and I do mean that really. So this happens, right? Before. So myself, Cameron, and the senior team sat down and said, what are the really strategic areas of focus for this organization in the next 3 years and beyond? What can we put on paper simply, concretely, to get everybody aligned around, that we heard from the board, that we heard from our stakeholders, that we really want to essentially move the dial on, be bold and really focus. So these are the 4 areas that emerged: urban core revitalization, venue activation and event attraction, visitor access, and organizational sustainability. So we should recognize some of those themes from previous slides that I just shared. I'm going to double click into each of these and highlight a few things in the rest of this presentation. But before I do, Mike, was there anything that you wanted to stage set?
I think that just the message that we wanted to echo Erica's comments is that we really wanted to get away from the template that you could basically took this plan and plug it into half the cities in America, and they're all with the same goals and objectives and initiatives. This really speaks to our region and Northern Nevada, and what we feel, what stakeholders feel, and what the board feels are the priorities that we need to really focus on and prioritize in the next 3 years.
Cool. And so with that in mind, the first 3 are really the strategic themes, if you will, and the 4th one is really the core work of the organization. So, and I'll say it kind of a different way. I think what happens with strategic plans, particularly with governmental and quasi-governmental organizations, is we just feel the need to put everything in the document, and then we don't realize we miss what's important for making sure that everybody's stuff is covered. So this is we really want to make sure that this organization is aligned around the 3 big things that we're trying to move forward on behalf of the community, and the 4th one, of course, running great organizations. With that, I have 3 slides for each of these 4 priorities, if you will. What I'd like to hear from you all is just to make sure that the where, which is what success looks like, not looking for wordsmithing, just making sure we didn't miss anything major. And then the next slide beyond that is the role of the RSCVA. So one of the big conversations is always, well, what are we supposed to be doing in the context of our mission and quite frankly, our funding sources to make sure that we are being a good community collaborator, but not stepping too far outside of our lane. Hopefully that makes sense. So it's always an interesting thing. So the role of the organization matters in the context of the plan that we build. So in priority number 1, urban core revitalization, in all of the conversations right now, and almost every single board input was of course about downtown. So a strong advocate for making a difference in our urban centers. We had a lot of conversation about the fact that, it's about all of downtown. That there's community collaboration to improve our downtown urban corridor, that it's clean and vibrant, and it's an urban core that provides a mix of outdoor activities. Again, I'm not going to read all this, but we've all been talking about downtown all the time. So I think the conversation about this is let's go. Yes.
I think I brought this up when we did our recent thing. On the urban core, I also see Sparks integrated because we've got an urban core. So we have Victorian Square and we're actually closing it off for the summer, starting July through October. It's going to be summer in the city and it'll be blocked off. And we are integrating more events, more pop-ups, and we're going to get information to you guys on what's happening so that you guys can help us with that. But I see that urban core is not downtown, which is primary for sure. But Victorian Square is being a secondary urban core. It's a kind of like Midtown is too, but I look at Sparks as still having an urban core with the opportunities for a lot of activation.
That's the feedback that we need today, and that's great. That's not articulated quite as succinctly, so we'll make sure that happens. But I will say, Christina, we had a lot of conversation about this. Anything you want to add? Because there was a lot of conversation about that. It's not just downtown.
Yeah, we really discussed as a group that although I think we've heard a resounding that downtown needs some help, that it's all of the urban revitalization, right? It's not just that, but it is the Sparks, it is Midtown, it is like the Red District, it's up in Tahoe, it's all of the areas that could need our help in those more urban centers where visitors more frequent.
Cool. So with that, it's obviously not just the RSCVA's responsibility. So what is the role of the RSCVA? So we identified you'll see these repeated 4 types of roles, either driving, meaning we have responsibility for, advocating, being an active part of the conversation, which probably also means people means money, and then support. We have one additional one, which is convening, but we'll talk about that later. But those are kind of the big 4, sort of what is our role? What is the RSCVA's role? And again, in that, making it feel a little bit better for the team to say, well, our job is not to revitalize the urban core. We're responsible for parts of it, but not all of it, right? So driving, the use of the 2 respective facilities, advocating for transformational projects, and supporting with marketing assets, everything that is about the experience in our downtowns plural. So again, I would ask, please stop me if you're like, yeah, what about this? What about that? I don't agree with, because our how plan is gonna draft off of those roles. So the current big 3 areas of focus are being an advocate for downtowns, plural, fully utilizing the river as a tourism asset, and then making it easier for visitors to experience River Tahoe. Can someone talk a little bit about number 3 and what we were intending with that? There's a bunch of detail behind this, which is in June, but I wanted to.
Yeah, just a few things, Ben McDonald for the record, a few things that we really talked about was education, promotion, and then this kind of feeds in to a little bit of the access discussion that we get into later. But really it's about educating the visitor.
About all that's possible.
Yes.
Yep, whether it's in our own venues, doing more promotional materials and providing, bringing in maybe local vendors, and that goes through like the sponsorship sales programs in our venues. And so when visitors come here, say it's the bowlers and they go to the bowling stadium and that's all they know, that we at least bring in more information to like, hey, have you checked out Sparks Water Bar? Have you gone up to the lake? And just
while visitors are in town, also continue to give them more information as well and expand what they may think they plan to do here and what they might get to do next time if they decide to.
Awesome. Okay, so we're moving on to area number 2 or priority number 2. So venue activation and an event attraction. Known that the area is known for hosting diverse events, including concerts, festivals, and maximizing visitor engagement. So that is upgraded venues. Of course, we just went through that whole budget conversation. That the venues are fully utilized and pursuing new opportunities. So all of that is what success looks like. The organization's role in that is responsible for driving event bookings, of course, obvious, driving those relationships with event producers, and again, advocating for those infrastructure improvements. I mean, we're clear about, we don't own them, but we're responsible, or we can advocate for some. Moving on. So the 5 areas of focus here are 4 of the facilities, and then making sure that we're attracting regional events. We did actually spend time on the words related to what are we trying to get done with the respective 4 facilities. I won't dig into all that right now. We'll come back with the detail, but you would expect to cover all 4 facilities, so it will. And then intention around regional events. Okay. Okay. Moving on, I know it's been a long meeting. So visitor access. That visitors have easy access to local attractions and venues throughout the region. So maintaining airlift with a focus on regional hubs, and then making sure success looks like that, and then making sure that there's walkable spaces. So some attention in that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd add is, and again, it's just semantics, but maintain and grow, right? I mean, I do think RAS will continually.
Yep.
Where can we add airlift?
Yeah. As much as expanding, right? Maintaining what's in.
But I know what you mean.
Right.
And I think the essence of that conversation is we're lucky to, no, that's not the right word. We have a lot, more would be better. But we
Sure.
Fair enough. And then, so the RCVA's role is to support partnerships in air service development. I think we're clear about how the organization does that, and advocate for shared transportation and ridership through our marketing reach. And what do we mean by that? That specifically is talking about area focus number 2, which is the idea about putting some attention on access to the lake and what that really looks like. So that was the thing. And then the other stuff on here, of course, as you would expect, to walk that through about air service development, and then being a voice for visitors to get around the community. So there's a lot of feedback about just getting around the region that maybe isn't sort of defaulting to renting a car. I think that's the idea. All right. And moving on, the 4th priority is organizational sustainability, and within here will be the scorecard with all of the metrics for the organization. Success looks like a cohesive team, a mission-focused team, actively being engaged with our stakeholders, and of course, being fiscally responsible with the funds. So we're responsible for driving the care and feeding all of the staff in the organization, of course, for making sure that we're being responsible financially, and convening regional stakeholders around the subjects that this organization is bringing forward. And so the 2 areas in here are about employee engagement as well as advancing our organization's capabilities. And Lori, a lot of work spent. This is not just the HR area, this is the organization's area, but Lori has a lot of programs and initiatives that you're planning. Anything to add?
Yeah, there are a lot of programs and initiatives. I'm not sure if they come out in our strategic plan, but if anyone's interested in asking questions about it, I'm happy to share. And you'll see that as we go through this new fiscal year.
Which is exciting. And so maybe just, I'm gonna make us dizzy by just going back to the 4 goals. Sorry, I should have had that slide at the end. So just pausing here then, it's the end of what we need to go through. I would just ask senior staff before we go to the board, is there anything else to add that you wanted to make sure the board knew about in terms of important sort of strategic efforts that are on our minds? Call outs?
I think the only thing I would add is that this is what the board, the community, and the staff asked for. this is the result. And I think the concept strategy that Erica and Cameron came up with and leading us down this path was very thought out, and I think it's going to be rewarding when it's all said and done. We present the final plan next month.
Great. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Are we on the right track?
I think
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That's what it is. Now that everybody sees their stuff, so you'll let us know.
Be to accept it and continue moving forward. Okay, so the motion will be to accept this as presented and continue moving forward with another presentation in June, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
Mr. Chair, with adding the Sparks, making sure we get Sparks.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
okay, it's been moved to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Great job as usual.
Thanks, Erica.
Okay, so now we are on to D6, I believe. Review, discussion, possible action for award.
D7. Oh, I'm sorry, D6, D6.
You got me all messed up now.
Sorry.
Okay, not to exceed $786,000 for a year, or 3-year term for basic services, Mike. Or for
Mr. Vice Chair, I'm going to pass the mic to Ms. Ernie.
Ernie, there you go.
Really her role.
Yours, yours.
Thank you, everyone. As many of you know, we did go out to a full RFP process for agency of record and media buying services. We went out back in March, just to give you guys a little back history. We did receive 15 proposals, which we were really excited to see that big of a submission for such an important role at our organization. They were all very competitive and really thought out proposals, and we really appreciate everyone who applied. With those 15, we had a panel of 6 individuals. There were 4 staff members on the RSCVA staff and 2 community members, which we received some feedback to engage the community. So that panel of 6 read through all 15 proposals in detail. There were 14 criteria for those proposals that every panel member scored on. We then took the top 4 agencies and invited them back for in-person panel interviews. The entire 6-person panel interviewed all 4 of those finalists. There was an additional 21 criteria from that panel interview that were scored. So in total, I think if I do my math correctly, there were 35 criteria points that we provided scores on for all of those 4 finalists. And I'm happy to share that Miles Partnership came out as number 1. And the panel met after this process, and everyone unanimously agreed that they were their pick for our agency of record and media buying services. And so we were really happy with that. I also just wanted to take this time to acknowledge our previous media buying and agency of record, BVK. They're the ones who really came up with this logo and really, I would say, revitalized the brand of our destination. And we really appreciate all of the hard work that they've put forth and have done for not only our organization, but our community. And we're really excited to see how Miles Partnership will take the great foundation and see how it can grow. And here today, I didn't give her much time to say hello, but we have Laura Libby, who is the president of Destination Marketing at Miles Partnership. I know we have a full agenda, so we didn't want to do a full presentation today on Miles Partnership, but we are asking them to come back next month to do a presentation to the board in June. But Laura is here today if you want to say hello to her, if you want to say a couple of words. And thank you so much.
I'll be so quick. Yes, I'm Laura Libby, and thank you for the opportunity. We're really excited to partner with all of you, with the industry, and to build on the work BBK has done. We've been watching you guys for a while, so we're really honored for this opportunity, and you'll see us again, and we look forward to getting to know all of you. So thank you.
Thanks very much. Look forward to it.
Thank you for sitting through this.
Okay, strategic planning budget, like it's actually a pretty good onboarding meeting.
I do want to just comment though. to
Absolutely.
piggyback, Christina's comment, even with BBK, it really, and again, I don't know all the inner workings and the day-to-day. I'm not in that level, but I do think the momentum, and even with at the Royal on the
Yeah.
PR side and Good Giant on the local. I
Absolutely.
feel like you've, in your internal team, have really done a nice job of pushing it, and it's a compliment to BBK also. I think now it's time to evolve, right? And you see this in a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
So we look forward, I'm really looking forward to seeing the
Yes.
miles roll out and. Sure.
Yeah.
You're at Denver, correct? Is that?
I am.
Okay. It's great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Comment. I want to thank Christina and the whole team.
Yeah.
In our pre-board, we got a little more detail and the fact that came in, I'm the fiscal conservative, so it came in at the best cost for us. And at this time where we are in our budget, that's critically important. But what's exciting to me is that the reach that they have, which you'll go into when we hear more, when you come back, the reach or the bang for our buck is gonna be amazing. And I appreciate the work that you all did. BBK's been awesome, but I'm ready for a fresh start. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion?
Just a pretty.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Can we just get clear? So we're
To approve.
approving the award of the contract for up to 3 years, not to exceed $786,000. But also approving the president CEO to negotiate and execute the definitive agreement.
So moved.
So moved, okay.
Second.
Second, move to second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Here's.
Does that mean that D7 is the last one? D7,
Yes, sir.
review, discussion, possible approval of Reno Sparks Convention Visitor Authority FY 25-26 President CEO goals. Mr. Larry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Mike Larry, for the record. So I've been asked to quickly update the board on the current goals, the pacing and the forecasted finish before I turn over the proposed 25-26 goals to the department heads, as my goals are their goals, and I would like to have them have a voice in this process. So on this current fiscal year goals approved by the board last year, goal number 1 was to produce 261,122 group MNC and sports room nights. We are currently at 251,596 at 96% to goal, and that is through the end of March. Mr. McGinnis's team and his team are projecting to finish at 270,425 or 104% to goal. Any questions? And all of the justifications for the currently approved goals and the goals that we're presenting today are also provided in the packet. So any questions on that goal? Okay, great. Goal number 2 focuses on marketing. The first one is paid media engagement. The goal is to achieve an average paid media engagement rate of 5% or higher by the end of the fiscal year. As of March 31st, 2025, we're at 16.6%, and the projected finish is at 17%. The second goal under marketing is partner referrals. The goal is to achieve a partner referral per user of 0.14 or higher at the end of the fiscal year. As of April 30th, 2025, we are at 14.1% with a projected finish at 14%. The third goal under marketing is earned media placements. The goal is to secure 215 or more earned media placements by the end of the fiscal year. As of March 31st, we are at 168, projecting to be at 180 through the end of April. And we are pacing and projected to finish right at 215, which is the annual goal. Goal number 3, leisure room nights. The goal is 634,110 cash hotel room nights, recorded by 11 hotel properties via tourism sales third-party channels. As of March 31st, 519,190 have been achieved, puts us at 82%. And we're projecting to finish it at 688,456, which would put us at 108% to goal. Goal number 4 is facility revenues. Our goal was 6,435,595. As of the end of, I believe this is the end of March. I didn't write that date. I apologize. We're projecting to finish at 88% to goal, 5,665,774. Again, as we noted earlier, the majority of that deficit is due to shortcomings in REC of nearly $1 million. Goal number 5 is community engagement. The goal was to complete 20 community activities per year, including and not limited to public service, speaking engagements, charitable in-kind contributions, trade show partnerships with charitable organizations, and participation in quarterly stakeholder and community leadership meetings. As of as of today, we've already achieved that number, and we're expected to finish the year based on what has been achieved and what is scheduled for May and June, or the month of June, at 46, so more than double. Goal number 6, staff retainment. The goal was to voluntary terminations to be decreased by a minimum of 5%. Through April, we're pacing at 11.8. July through March was at 8%, and we're projecting to finish the year at right around 10%. So we will not be reaching that goal. And then the final goal was staff surveys. The goal was to establish and complete a staff survey, executed and results and summarized. And that was achieved already this fiscal year. The employee survey was sent out and completed in February 2025. Those are the current fiscal year goals and the pace and what we're projecting to finish. Any questions on that before we go through the 25-26 goals?
All good?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So how are we doing as far as concerts into the Reno Event Center?
So we actually had a meeting, I'm sorry, Mike Largetta for the record, thanks, Mr. Carano. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Mr. Seidman, and we have 5 current bids out. 3 of those are standalone with the RSCVA. We're just waiting for response from the agents and the producers to see if they're gonna select Reno for those concerts. The goal is, as you know, 6 at-risk RSCVA concerts for fiscal year 25-26.
Good. And how are we doing with special events from the gal from Las Vegas?
So we have 7 right now that we feel have a strong probability. One of the I hate to use the word challenge, but one of the obstacles that we are pursuing to overcome, and Commissioner Hill is well versed in this, is there is currently a restriction by the county on the number of large events you can hold at Rancho San Rafael. And Rancho San Rafael is by far the most desired opportunity of space that a lot of the festivals, whether that be concerts, whether that be food and beverage, whether that be arts and culture, are very interested in. Now, we had a great meeting with the county, and they've identified some possible other opportunities for us. Valerie actually had a conversation with the University of Nevada regarding their land over in the Pembroke area. So some significant land over there. They're very interested in renting that land to us as well.
But we were told, and I still have not been told, is it a law or is it policy?
It is a policy, and we have to go in front of the Parks and Rec Commission.
Yeah.
To request a variance to above the 2 that are currently approved. Yeah. Sorry, I know it was a little cloudy there for a while. Any other questions?
We're moving on.
Okay. All right, moving forward into the fiscal year 25-26 goals. We have tweaked these a little bit. Obviously, you'll see increases in production in almost every goal that was the same goal of the prior year. You'll see a couple new goals. Again, all the justifications are provided behind each goal in your packets. And again, the goals tied to the CEO, tied to the vice presidents, and throughout the entire organization are all quantitative. We do not have any qualitative goals, so every goal is based on performance. With that, goal number 1, Mr. McGinnis.
Production. John McGinnis for the record. As Mr. Largetta stated, our goal for this last year was just a little over 261,000 room nights. We are projecting to finish at just a little over 270,000 room nights, or 104%. Our recommendation is for an 8.2% increase in group room nights, which would put us at 282,523, or about 21,000 room nights. The average increase nationally is about 3%. This is a little bit more than the 3%, obviously, but in talking to our major stakeholders that hold meetings and conventions, right now their average increase for the projected year is about 2.5%. That's the average. Our representation in our territories right now, why we feel strong about this goal right now, is that the increases that we have averaged in each of the territories that are represented is about 9% increase year over year, which is fantastic. Our high-speed team of 11 sellers out there selling this destination. The youngest or the junior of that 11 is 2 years into her role, but they all have a lot of experience behind them. So we're looking at that 8.2% increase for next year, which baked into that is about 12,000 room nights. 10,000 of that comes from next year's production from the track events that we're going to hold, which we are going to double for next year. And that equates to about 10,000 room nights, as I said. And Wild Sheep this year actually outproduced its year-over-year numbers by about 13% or about 2,000 room nights. So we baked that 12,000 into those 21,000 room nights that we're increasing, which leaves us at about 3.6% of an increase overall if you were to take those room nights out. So right now we feel comfortable with this 8.2% increase year over year for group room nights.
Right. Any question on goal number one?
This isn't really tied directly to the goal, but John, do you know off the top of your head what's the ADR is for your group segment?
We do, we can provide space on it, consumption, some of the questions that usually come up, as it relates to the group side is pickup and ADR. ADR we can get, pickup is a little bit more challenging because not all the properties release that information after the group is consumed. But ADR, yes.
Okay.
And we can break it down by district.
That'd be interesting too. It'd be interesting to see everything, you know, again, on the dashboard-ish of, you know, and again, whether it's art or John's groups.
Yep.
I think bowlers, right? You almost get a feel, it just gives you kind of an idea of what's driving what.
Yeah,
driving that number, Robert brought up it.
And I think you can break it down even further, Mr. Squawka. I think you could look at ADR by seasonality.
Yeah.
Year over year. I think you could look at ADR by new business versus repeat business.
Yeah. It'd just be a good high level understanding for it. Even the select service, like see what they're driving, gives you an idea of what's coming through.
Yeah.
How much is ADR really the issue in Reno, Nevada compared to our competitors?
It can be. It depends on, again, Mike, let me get it for the record. It depends on the group. It depends on whether it's a SMERF group versus corporate versus association versus sports. It can depend on time of year. It can depend on what other concessions we're offering those groups. You know, we still feel that we offer tremendous value based on the quality of our product. And a lot of times we find a way to provide, if they're using the convention center, that space on a complimentary basis, we can. And so it just depends, Mr. Cronin, as you know, it's just every piece of business and the requests and the demands are different to the next.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you, John. Goal number 2, marketing, Ms. Ernie.
All right, so the first marketing goal is to achieve an average paid media engagement rate of 10%. Fiscal year goal, it was to achieve an average paid media engagement rate of 5%. So we have decided to increase this up to 10%. This will be the second year that we're focusing on an engagement versus impressions. We really like this goal of focusing on engagement, really seeing how well our advertising is working and how much our paid media efforts are working. And it really helps us track the users as well in all of our efforts. So that is the first one that we are proposing. And the second one, we are proposing a slight change from this last year. So this last year, as you can recall, we had partner referral rate on our website. This one, I have to read it because it is a mouthful. It's the increase enhanced website engagement sessions. So what that essentially means is we're taking that partner referral rate and we're folding it in and we're making it more broad. So we're really looking at all engaged sessions because to look at the more like modern traveler. So these engagements include whether they do a partner referral, which a partner referral, for those who may not know, means that they click off from our site to a hotel or to a ski resort or to a golf resort. So to our partners. But we're also gonna be checking this year, did they interact with our AI chatbot on our website? A lot of people are using AI now, and so if we see that they're planning a trip with our AI chatbot, we can kind of indicate that they might be planning a trip. The other one is to visit 3 or more pages on our website. If they're clicking through to 3 or more pages, we really feel that that's an active user, probably looking to plan a trip. And then the last one is the itinerary builder completion. So we have a personalization widget on our website where users don't really know this, but they come on, they check, they click what they're interested in, and we get that on our side on the back end, and we make a more personalized experience on our website. So even when they return from the same computer, we know what they've been interested in. We can also gather their email addresses out of this. So this enhanced engagement rate is really what we're looking at. So it's not just partner referrals, but it's really users interacting with key components of our website. So we are looking at increasing, we have tracked all of these for this past year, and we are looking at increasing it by 5% to achieve 733,080 sessions are enhanced engaged users.
Okay, Mr. McDonald, immediately.
Thank you. Yeah. Goal 3 in marketing is part of my efforts, Ben McDonald, for the record. It has to deal with media placements. This isn't a new goal for the current fiscal year. Generally, we track impressions or media reach or something like that, but we're really focused on finding high quality placements. So this year we're tracking those placements. The new goal for 26 is 215. It would be flat to the goal for the current year. And the justification for that is, one, we're pacing for 24 journalists media visits this current fiscal year through March. And generally in a given year, we'll do between 12 to 16 media visits. So you generate a lot more exposure, the more media that you bring in. And that's our number one goal, is to get those journalists here. Also track coverage. So we're incorporating local media placements as well as national media placements, which we haven't necessarily tracked in the past because we haven't had a local media partner. But track was hugely successful, especially on a local level. We did about 40 stories locally as it relates to the new indoor track. So that was a big boost to our placements as well. And then also we're really pushing for quality over quantity. We want to meet our target audience where they are, where they're receiving their information, as opposed to, if we look at the goal from 2 years, or the results from 2 years ago from a media placement standpoint, we were at 138. So the media landscape is very different from year to year, from month to month. 1 July 4 or 5 years ago, I remember we had something like 85 placements due to syndication. And then 2 years ago, we had like 12 or 13, right? So it's very different. It's very difficult to project month over month, but we're really focused on high quality placements. And I think 215 is an aggressive number, and I'm confident that we'll hit it. The track, the reason I bring up the track is because we did have a lot of success with that, but it was brand new. We just actually did get another nice story in Sports Travel Magazine, recapping last year and talking about what's to come next year. That just hit a few days ago, but it's like a new baby or a new puppy. Once they grow up a little bit, you don't get necessarily as much attention, but we're comfortable with that number and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on the marketing goals? Okay, thank you, sir. Goal number 3, leisure room nights, Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you. Argument is for the record. And so the fiscal year 26 CEO tourism sales goal is to produce 687,223 room nights, which is an 8.3% increase from the goal of this fiscal year of 634,000 room nights. These are going to be recorded by 11 hotel properties. They're going to be recorded through various tourism sales third-party channels, which include OTA, GDS, retail agencies, wholesale, receptive operators, motor coach, etc. How did we get to this 687,000 room night number? So we're going to use the consumed room nights for July through March, and then we're going to use the budgeted room nights for April through June. Plus, we're going to factor in that these room nights are going to represent a 27% of the overall cash room nights for the destination, which has been about the average historically. We're also going to factor in that overall cash room nights for Washoe County are going to come in, 0.2% below for the budget for the final room nights. So pretty simple how we got there. 687,000 room nights, which represents.
How do you
percentage of- Pardon me?
How do you, on what we're projecting to finish, correct? And so what we took into consideration, Mr. East, is obviously we're projecting the overall budget to decline, cash room nights to come down. It's that segment. It's interesting because as you know, from the hotel sector, a lot of times when your FIT and group business comes down, this segment will go up. We just don't, next year is like, it was probably the hardest to set goals and budget for, because there's so much unknown.
I think the other financial goals, I've seen an increase, right? I think there's a stretch. In fact, I think the one we're coming up on will be aggressive, but this one I felt like might have been, we're calling even to this year.
Yeah, it's just the unknown on the convention side because of the impact of the government groups and government travel. So government groups obviously hits the M&C side, government travel, which through the GDS is up this year, 13%, GDS bookings.
Or GDS bookings.
18%.
We're at 191,000 room nights for GDS this time last year. Right now, we're at 210,000.
So that falls into that goal mystery. So the concern is if the government business declines, it's a big percentage of that segment.
And then also as we head into uncharted waters here, and if properties do get a little aggressive with their programming and rate structures, we're very fortunate, as Mr. Buggy has mentioned, getting close to the drive market, and our visitors will be looking for some value travel.
Thank you.
So this is everybody outside of FIT and group travel.
This is your GDS, tour operators, OTAs. Okay.
How's your Canadian traffic?
No, maybe Boston.
Fortunately, according to the airport, we only get about 9,000 Canadian flyers coming in through here. Now, there's no way of us knowing how many are driving, but we're not in that market really. And whatever we were doing in Canada, we have paused right now till unknown future. Motor coach is up, so probably we're gonna wind up over 30,000 room nights, or about 30,000 room nights in this fiscal. So we're ramping up really nicely. They really went down with COVID, and it's really chipping back up, which is perfect because ABA is gonna be here in January, American Bus Association.
Yeah, so we've made a significant financial investment in hosting ABA, which has never been hosted on the West Coast. And so for there's time to come West Coast to host in Reno is like a huge coup for the team. And they have shared with us, I think it's like a 15% average growth in the city after AB has been hosted in that city.
Nice.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Good job, Art. Goal number 4, facility revenues. Ms. McGinnis.
McGinnis for the record. We are projecting a goal of almost $7.4 million for the 4 venues next year. The big star being the NBS because we have the USBC bowlers in. So we get these revenues. They're a combination of meetings and conventions, the team over there, the sports team, the director of the REC operations who is working on the concerts, and then the venue sales and events teams. So we do a forecast for 12 months out and look at all the events that we have on the books for each venue. And then we add in what we think we can book in between that 12-month period to add that additional revenue. So we have the convention center coming in at almost $3 million. That is 3% down from our budget this year. The reason being is that some of those conventions that Mike talked about where they receive complimentary rent, we have some of those coming in and that is what they receive. So we've taken that down a bit. We know we can make some of that up in the ancillary revenue, which consists of any kind of internet, AV, parking, any of those other items that we can make revenue up once they get here. So we thought 3% is a fair amount to go ahead and discount compared to this year. Livestock also is down about 3%. This year we did lose one convention. We also lost a Hispanic concert. Both of those were about $200,000. We think for next year, we're going to work more on that, the one Hispanic concert. And we also have 3 new events, convention events coming in or room night events. So we've got that down 3% down. Because we've seen a trend over the last like 3 years. It's just gone down slightly. And I think the majority of that is in the rent and also the ancillary. So in this year, we're forecasting when the budget's all said and done, that will be about 85% down from this, what our current budget. Does that make sense? I kind of went all the way around the circle. Okay. Next is the Reno Event Center, and we were down concerts this year. We have this budget down about 7.5% compared to our fiscal budget. We took our baseline of what we have booked without having to go out and purchase concerts or to take that risk. And we've added those 6 in, so we're expecting about 15. And we should be finishing the event center off at about $1.6 million. And then of course, last is bowling stadium. So that is how we came up with the numbers. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
She was all
thank you, Renee.
confident and just owned it. I love it.
I have a feeling it will be sitting here 11 months from now, 12 months from now, and it's gonna be the REC or makes or breaks this. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, you can tell.
It is. Goal number 5 is community engagement. I'll take this one very quickly. So last year the goal was 20. We're projected to finish at 46. We're recommending a goal of 30. As this board knows, our objective as a team was to really get out in the community and educate anyone and everyone about who we are, what we do, how we can be an asset, how we can be somebody to get data from, information. And so our objective this next fiscal year is to be more targeted, to get to the right audiences, larger audiences. And so we're recommending a goal of 30. Okay.
All right.
Questions?
Sounds good.
And not certainly, last but not least, goal number 6 is staff surveys. Lori Tangy.
Hi, Lori Taney for the record. Our goal is that we're looking to achieve an increase in our response rate to the survey. So we started out very high with a 73% response rate.
People are really happy with you. I remember.
We worked really hard.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Thank you. So we thought we'd bump it up just a little bit to challenge ourselves, but even just a 73% response rate is 38% above the national average. So we're bumping it up to 75% for this coming fiscal year. And we think we're gonna get there. For number 7, the employees, we're still focusing on the employee survey, and you may notice that we were previously focusing on staff retainment. And so we decided that because we have the tools now to understand why employees are exiting the organization with electronic exit surveys, we really should just focus on using the data from the surveys instead of counting and, numbers on the Excel spreadsheet of how many people are leaving. So we just feel like if we maintain a 96% employee satisfaction rate and above, we didn't want to be too overly ambitious because 96% satisfaction is still very
good. Yeah, very happy, very high. And I'm so glad you brought that up, retention too. And then can you capture what departments those are coming from, your high retention?
Absolutely. Yeah, we could look at the good retention and
the bad ones, the major turnovers, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause that's always a red flag that I notice in certain departments.
Yeah, and I think that given the nature of our business, you will tend to see more attrition and turnover in facilities.
Sure.
But what I'd like to see down the line is really being able to compare it to other facilities like our own. And right now we don't have that much data, but yeah, definitely be looking at that.
Good job. Okay, anything else?
That concludes the recommended goals. That's it.
Okay.
Make a motion to set and approve the president CEO goals for fiscal year 25-26.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right. Where are we at? I don't even know anymore. Okay, we are at public comment, Madam Clerk. Do you have any public comment for us?
No public comment at this time.
Okay. And then we, what am I doing? Oh, any board member announcements? Would you like me to give you the duster? Just kidding. Be like, why are you asking?
I went to work this time.
Yeah, right, no airport
No
update.
airport
Do you understand me? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'll have a big one next month.
All right, and then, no public comment and, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I do have one thing I wanna, remind everyone, we are going into an attorney-client, meeting, and that will only be for 5 minutes, so it'll be very quick. If you wanna stay, you can. If you don't.
Go over there and get set up.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed. Motion carries. All right, thanks, everyone. Good job. I am so sorry that was much longer. That was, Mike Clary, fault.